Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Apparently, he'd broken his leg in a match against Sheffield United in 1874 and wanted to stop it from happening again. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads, sewed them into his socks and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. Ta-da! Shin pads. Like all great genius inventors, everyone took the mickey at first. To be fair, he probably looked quite stupid running around with these on. But it's thought his whole Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this protection was pretty important for footballers. Multiple studies have shown wearing shin pads clearly reduces the risk of players getting lower leg injuries. And so, in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became a part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says pads must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, and players can get away with a lot. A lot of grassroots clubs are choosing to ban micro shin pads for obvious reasons, though, especially after a 15-year-old player from Penistone Church broke his leg while wearing them. Still no change from IFAB, though. That's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
Yeah, Monday night kickoff on talkSPORT with me, Adrian, Durham, the former England midfielder Danny Murphy, and one of the country's finest writers, Darren Lewis, is back with us. Now, I'm not sugarcoating anything tonight, I promise you. Arsenal was set a challenge to win a cup final against Pep City. They bottled that challenge. That actually happened, whether you like the word or not. They were useless. Surely they couldn't bottle the title. Could they? Could that really happen? Spurs, just a bit of a lull, really. It's just ridiculous that Spurs seem intent on hurtling into the Championship. They could be playing Lincoln next season. They could even be playing Stevenage on a level next season. Absolutely incredible. Newcastle are shambles. 5 years after the takeover, they lose the derby, and they finish the game with Osula, Wissa and Murphy as a front three. That's laughable, I'm afraid. Why is Eddie Howe taking off Gordon and Voltemade? None of that makes any sense at all. So you can have a go at the ownership, and we'll discuss the manager as well. How embarrassing is this title defence from Liverpool? They've lost 10 games. It's pathetic. And what about Chelsea? It's just hilarious. That's the entertainment for tonight. And at 9:30, I'm not going to be holding back on this. We're talking about Ben White back for England. What on earth is that all about? Has an England manager ever read the room so badly in the past? Not one England fan wants Ben White back. He's not even good enough for Arsenal. And yet he's back in the England squad? Incredible. Listen, let's get stuck into it with the guys. It is talkSPORT. Monday night kickoff. Danny Murphy, you all right?
I'm good. I've had a busy weekend watching lots and lots of football, so I'm well versed.
Do you like football?
Love it. I actually do love it.
Actually, even though Liverpool are so terrible, do you still like football?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I've been very lucky growing up supporting Liverpool and seeing a lot of success. And obviously, they've had a few ups and downs when I played, but generally being a supporter of a club that's competing and fighting and winning Champions Leagues and FA Cup, can't really grumble. But this season has been a real shocker for everyone. I don't think anybody really anticipated the fall off. The way they're playing, the lack of energy, the lack of composure, the poor signings, that everything about it's gone wrong.
It has, and I can't wait to get stuck into that.
I've got a view on that.
Have you?
I'll
Can you hold it?
Later on.
Can you hold it?
I can
Darren Lewis, how you doing?
I'm very well indeed. I forgot how much I miss you. I was listening to you doing that trial and setting up the show, and I thought, I remember, because I'm often very indiscreet on the show, and I talk about how much I admire you, because I've listened to you for many, many, many years, ever before I was privileged enough to get behind a microphone on this station, and you have that innate ability to just get me. I was thinking, if I was in the car listening, going, what the bleep is he talking about? So now I get the chance to ask it on the show.
But you make a good point. He can be controversial, which winds people up, and some people will agree with his point.
Yes,
but I was saying to Aidan, well, we'll have a little loving. I was saying to him, it's not just that. I don't know anybody who's got the knowledge of the 4 leagues like him.
100%.
And I don't know anyone who probably watches more live games.
I do watch
he knows, you know, I often text you at 2:35 and I say, how the bleep did you know that?
I thought you were going to say, I often text you at 2:30 in the morning. Yeah. I was going to say, what?
Well, there's that as well. And we have that kind of relationship.
That makes me uncomfortable.
I thought today it's going to be such a great show. There's so much to go at. And then he recalls Ben White, and I'm just absolutely raging about that so much. That's at 9:30 if you want to set your alarms for that. I'm properly annoyed about that. But the big story of the weekend was obviously the Carabao Cup. Man City picking up the first silverware of this season with that 2-0 win over Arsenal. Here is how it sounded on talkSPORT. Top 2 teams in the country, the history between the two managers and the desire for a trophy from both sides makes this something very, very special.
It's Manchester City that lead. Went through the hands of Kepa Malaga, but Nico O'Reilly to duck in and head home.
I think you have to have your best players on the pitch, and unfortunately, Ray is Arsenal's best goalkeeper.
Pep Guardiola, I thought he was going to hurdle the advertising hoardings. And he's headed in for 2. It's Nico O'Reilly again. Brilliant set-up play. Why don't you pop your head on it and make it 2-0? And O'Reilly done that. We talked about the master against the apprentice. Well, there's only one master. That's Pep Guardiola. And it's Manchester City who win the League Cup yet again. Bernardo Silva takes the trophy, lifting it to the London heavens.
City, brilliant. Arsenal couldn't handle them and couldn't handle the occasion.
This game felt like it was more than just a cup final.
And the Arsenal players going round to their fans, applauding them, will wonder where they've all gone. There's a Premier League title to be won. Get behind the players. Nico O'Reilly arrived at Wembley and won the cup for Manchester City. I was there at Wembley, really enjoyed it. And not just because Arsenal lost, got to enjoy that, but here's the thing. What I mentioned there about the fans at the end, they disappeared double quick. Now, it's not 10 o'clock at night, okay? All right, it's evening. It's difficult getting away from Wembley. I get it. But this is your Arsenal team that hasn't won a trophy for, 5-6 years, and they're going for a quadruple. And, all right, they've lost the final. But you have to still get behind them because they're going for FA Cup, Champions League, and the Premier League title. And all those fans disappeared. I mean, they don't exactly live far away. None of them live in North London, by the way. They all live in Essex and Hertfordshire. So never mind North London forever. These streets are ours. What are they doing deserting their seats when they should be applauding those players who are giving them a season of a lifetime? I saw the Arsenal players go around applauding the fans that were left, and there weren't many. They were applauding a load of empty seats. I mean, Arsenal fans, I thought, were an utter disgrace yesterday. You stay, you applaud your team. Yes, they didn't play well, and yes, they got beaten, but they're going for 3 more trophies. Are you lot behind them or not? So, Darren Lewis, what went wrong with the Arsenal yesterday? Why were they so bad? Was it because City was so good?
It was partly because City was so good, and also because I think by half-time, Guardiola realised that for all of the possession that Arsenal had in that first 25, 30 minutes, they didn't really hurt City at all. And once they took command and started to try to find ways through, they realised that there were vulnerabilities in that Arsenal defence, at left-back in particular. I think a lot of Arsenal fans were surprised that Calafiori didn't start, for example, because he would have been a stronger option there than Nketiah.
He's been playing Nketiah ahead of him for a while now.
Yeah, and you know, it turned out to be that area, that vulnerability that City were able to take advantage of on a couple of occasions. The interesting thing, I was listening to some of the coverage yesterday, and I remember you guys all talking about, it wasn't yourself, but I remember some of the guys talking about the fact that City didn't have their first choice central defence. Yep. And that looked like that was going to be the point of weakness for them. But Arsenal never tested it. And that's a big part of why they lost.
Why didn't they test the fact that Gay and Diaz weren't playing for City yesterday, Danny?
I think when you play cup finals, they're decided on small moments. And usually with two good teams, there'll be a bit of ebb and flow in the game. Now, there was a definite problem on Arsenal's left. Semenyo was causing a lot of problems there. I thought that should have been nipped in the bud half time, but he didn't. But ultimately, when you break it down to two teams who respect each other and are tactically aware and both looking pretty solid defensively, there wasn't. Arsenal had a couple of chances. Trafford made a couple of great saves early on. Kepa had an easy task to grab the ball out of the air, drops it, and they concede. And then the whole dynamic of a cup final changes on a goal. And then you get a second, give them the comfort. But I don't look too much into it and go, it was a tactical masterclass. It wasn't this. It was a tight game where a mistake or a wonder goal can win it and take it over the line for you. I don't think it's a big problem for Arsenal moving forward per se. I think if you were to pick Arsenal's best 11, that wouldn't be it. Not just the keeper. Left back, obviously. I don't think the forward line played particularly well. And I would always rather see Martinelli than Trossard. And I'm more of a Jesus fan than a Gyökeres fan, but I know Gyökeres has scored a few recently. The point is, they've still got a wonderful opportunity to have an amazing season.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of players in the squad now who are experienced international players who play in big games a lot. The only small caveat with it is that when you lose to a rival and you play them quite quickly after, so I don't know how many weeks it is till what date in April they play.
April, isn't it? I'll check it out, Tom.
There is a thing in your head when you've just lost to a rival, and then you go and play them again.
That's what I was just thinking.
Where you're more cautious, subconscious. You don't want to be. You want to do the normal thing. And that game is pivotal because, let's be honest, if Arsenal come away from there unbeaten, they're pretty much over the line.
That's 19th of April. Before that, they've got the Champions League, both legs of the quarterfinal. They're home to Bournemouth before that. They've got the FA Cup away to Southampton. So there's one more Premier League game before they go to Man City, and that's at home to Bournemouth, who aren't doing too bad at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that, what you just said, I think City deserve credit. Their big players turned up.
Yeah.
Rodri and Bernardo Silva were quality.
Bernardo Silva, honestly, how are they going to cope with
And the other thing as well, people talking about, I understood no Gay, no Diaz, and thinking, they're vulnerable. This Kusanov guy, I know he started a bit erratically, but he is a super athlete.
He's coming into his own.
He can pass, he can play, and he can move.
He's rapid.
Yeah.
He's very cool.
And Ake, let's not forget about Ake. And this is the strength in depth that City also have, although Arsenal's squad probably is more complete. Ake played nearly all the games the year they won the treble. He played left back most of that season. And he played in all the big games. This ain't some young kid coming in.
But do you know what's interesting about what you're saying, and I totally agree with what you're saying, it just is another reminder. We do this, and I said this on the last time we did the show. We call winners in February and January, and we say, City haven't got the squad. I look at City's defence, I look at Arsenal's defence there. In January, in February, I'm with you guys. I look at Arsenal's defence. They do have the best defence in the Premier League at the moment statistically, and they are superb. But when you have somebody who knows how to get over the line, who knows how to coach players to believe in themselves and to shut out the noise, because as you say, Kusanov didn't start very well at all. There were lots of people who were not having him. And then you see him in the last few games, and you see a guy who's coming into his own at the business end of the season, the right time when you need strong mentalities and the pace that he's able to show against Real Madrid as well as against Arsenal, and the quality as well, putting his body on the line in a couple of key moments. That's when it matters. In April, in May, that's when it matters, not in December or January, because we've known for years leagues don't get won.
They don't. January. But the other thing I'd say is, and you could argue this now for a good while watching Arsenal, the top end of the pitch ain't firing as it should. We know they're good, brilliant at set plays, and nothing wrong with that. But the top end of the pitch, when you look at the goals and where they are, very rarely have years gone by where teams were in the league where so few players have scored so few.
I think you're right. I think that none of them have scored, if I'm not mistaken, more than 5 or 6 goals. I think they've all scored.
Gyökeres is the only one, and I think he's got 11.
You could say they're spreading them around, which is a good thing, but I absolutely, it doesn't look fluent and cohesive, does it at all? Very quickly, in a words, Arsenal for the title, yes or no, Danny Murphy?
Still a yes for me.
Darren?
I mean, it does make it more interesting,
I'm
but
not
still
sure.
a yes.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure. I just think let's see how they come out of this psychologically. Let's see what happens in that game at the Etihad, because if City do win that game at the Etihad, the margins become so much smaller.
You say that, but City haven't shown a run of form in a while.
They're just
hang on.
And Forest.
Real Madrid had shown nothing before they played.
No, but we're talking about
City.
Prem, and West Ham and Forest have got points against City, which nobody expected. So by the time we get to that encounter, there might not be a gap that's surmountable.
I think you're right, but on the flip side, think about the teams that Arsenal have dropped points to when they've surrendered the league.
As well, yeah.
No, not that they've had wobbles.
You mean in the league?
The teams that they've actually had those wobbles against, your Southamptons and your West Hams, not the top six.
Yes,
sides.
true.
It's been the smaller sides that we look at the fixture list. We've seen countless programs about it. Look at the fixtures; they're easily winnable games, and then suddenly the results don't go the way they do. I think you can't play the game on paper.
I think this Bournemouth game's massive.
The next one for
they win down at Bournemouth
at home,
who are on a good run. They go 12 points clear. I know they'd have 2 games in Man City, but
by the way, before the Arsenal game, Man City's game is away to Chelsea.
Oof.
They're going well. We'll talk about them later. You are listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes, 18+, gambleaware.org.
Hello, Barry. Good morning.
Okay?
Yeah. Go for it, Baz.
I just want to say, every Monday mid-morning, we have to listen to Martin going on and on and on. It just becomes too much, and it's making me want Man City to win because he's just moaning all the time.
Don't put it on me, fella. Don't put it on me, Barry. So all those times when we denied you winning those 3 Premier Leagues back in the day with Sir Ferguson, was that got something to do with it? Yeah, the fact that Man United players, the former players, have all got it against Arsenal. You Man United fans. If you could pick a team without me involved, don't involve me. Just say which is the team you despise the most in the Premier League. Come on, who is it?
We saw what a coward you were when
It's got that big now.
When you were managing.
It's got that big now that you even want your local rivals to win ahead of us. Well done to you. Well done. Look what happened to our local rivals.
To be honest, our main rivals.
Spurs. Start having your own things to go after as a football club. Don't just bash us. When was the day? When was the day Man United wanted to be champions? Will we see that again soon?
What's your results? Yeah, you will see that again, Mark.
Well, because you've got 1 game a week at the moment, haven't you? It's easy for you, isn't it?
Let's Barry, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
Finish your call off for me. On you go.
Hey, what score were Man U Arsenal last time we met?
Well, the thing is, let's just put it this way. So we've played 50 games. You're going to play 40 games maximum this season, yeah? Because that's at the moment. What have you? You've got 7 games. You play 33 matches. So you're fresh. When you beat us, you're fresh. You beat Man City as well.
Trophies lately, Man United or Arsenal.
talkSPORT, it's kick-off. It's Darren Lewis and Danny Murphy with me, Adrian Durham, through till 10. There's so much to talk about from the weekend, but it's time now to get an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
And it's hello to Nicola McGeady from Ladbrokes. Let's talk about Spurs. First of all, relegation odds after losing to Forest, Nicola.
Yeah, good evening, Adrian. It's not good news for Spurs, so much so they could actually go down in betting history as the biggest price team to be relegated from the league. They were 100-1 at the start of the season, and they're now just 5-4. So before their defeat to Forest, they were 5-2. So week after week, it's more and more grim from a betting perspective. So yeah, just 5-4 to go down. Wolves and Burnley, obviously on backable prices, and then you've got West Ham at even money. But it seems like Spurs are in free fall. They haven't had a win this year, whereas the Hammers have had a better set of results. So it is very worrying time for the future of Spurs in the run-in here. Forest obviously had that much-needed win over Spurs, so their odds drifted out to 9-2 to be relegated, and you've got Leeds in there as well at 5-1.
Listen, what about the next Spurs manager? You running a book on that?
Yeah, look, to survive now, I think most people will agree Spurs need to appoint a new manager. Look, Pochettino, he's the 3-1 favourite to be in charge at the start of next season. Maybe Sean Dyche can step in, though. He's 6-1. Robbie Keane 7-1. And you've got Harry Redknapp, who has openly said he wants the job, but his price drifted out to 10-1 from 5-1 this afternoon, whatever happened there.
City's cup win over Arsenal. We're talking about whether that changes things in the Premier League and maybe a psychological advantage, but Arsenal will still be favourites, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Look, and that is the thing. Could have been, it could have a psychological advantage. City's win over Arsenal caused a little bit of a stir. Obviously, it ended Arsenal's quadruples hopes. City's odds in the title race were clipped off the back of that, 7-1 from 8-1. Look, we know Arsenal are overwhelming favourites. They're 1-16 for the title. They're 9 points clear. But when they face City again later next month, that's going to be a pivotal point in the race. And City, of course, they've got a game in hand. Arsenal are 9 points, but it can change quickly. Nobody's going to get comfortable, and some punters are still having a bit of a flutter on City.
They are. Premier League top four odds, really interesting. Aston Villa back into the top four at the weekend.
Yeah, there was plenty of action in the top four, Margaret. Look, United now are solid at 1-10 to be in the Champions League spots, but the battle for that remaining spot's really intensified, particularly, as you said, with Aston Villa following their 2-0 win over West Ham. They're now 8-15, and that's really piled the pressure now on Liverpool. They've extended the gap with them. Liverpool lost, so Liverpool are out to 6-4. And of course, Chelsea were defeated at the weekend as well, so their odds took a real hit and they're out to 16-5. So Aston Villa very much in pole position there for that fourth spot.
And Nicola, coming up shortly on kickoff, we're all three of us going to be picking our Ladisfaction moment of the weekend. So what's yours from this weekend?
I think it had to be the Sunderland-Newcastle game. In true derby fashion, it really delivered the drama we wanted. A 90th minute goal for Sunderland. It doesn't get much better than that if you're a Black Cats fan.
That's absolutely true. Nicola, thank you very much. That's Ladisfaction. We'll be picking our very own magic moments of the weekend later on the show. That's all thanks to Ladbrokes, 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Got a little bit of information for you about Spurs, actually. Just breaking news from our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, who has sent in some news that's breaking. Tottenham, as he understands it, are expected to part company with Igor Tudor during this international break. talkSPORT understands that Igor Tudor has managed his last game for Spurs, that there is going to be a change during the international break. Obviously, it's a very sensitive situation because Igor Tudor's father passed away over the weekend, hence he wasn't doing the media afterwards. And it's just a terrible thing. It's an awful thing. There's no words can make that any better. Spurs, those people running Spurs want to handle any exit in a compassionate manner. Spurs have sounded out a number of potential short-term replacements, and those names include Chris Hughton and the former Monaco boss, Adi Hutter. Roberto De Zerbi is a strong candidate, we understand, to become the next permanent manager if Tottenham avoid relegation. So very interesting, Darren Lewis. What do you make of that?
Well, the first place to start is with condolences to Tudor, because I think what he has learned will be infinitely more important than football and Tottenham. And I think the context of that has to be, set out very clearly. I think we're all with him and his family. And I think right now, that will be all of his thoughts, regardless of what's going on with Tottenham. That will be, as it should be.
Yeah.
I think the club obviously have a sporting issue to resolve, and they've got to be decisive about it. And as you were saying a second ago, because it's such a sensitive situation, I just hope they handle it in a sensitive way, and they give him the respect that it's deserved, that it deserves. I think as far as the football is concerned, it's very clear that it hasn't worked, and I think they do need to get a third manager in. I think as far as Spurs are concerned, how it looks is irrelevant, because the action has to be taken to save the club. Nicola was just saying they could be the biggest price club to go down. Remember, Spurs were one of the big five that broke away from the original First Division to set up the Premier League. This would be seismic if they were to go down. But the problem right now at Tottenham is that I look at West Ham and I see fighters, leaders, a Jared Bowen who will roll his sleeves up, they go and gets tough. I look at Wolves, I see fighters. I look at Nottingham Forest, there are fighters and game changers. I don't see any at Spurs.
Danny?
I understand. I kind of agree with that. They do look absolutely devoid of all energy and fight, and apart from that little second half performance at Liverpool. The only thing with that, I've seen it before, you see a group of lads who look done. And I was part of one at Fulham. And the right coach can really change a mentality. It can happen quick. I mean, it doesn't always happen quick. Roy didn't. It took about 8 games. But I've seen it happen quickly as well, where the mood changes. One result goes your way. The training, everybody's more upbeat. The manager's a completely different type of character. I think the biggest thing I see, Tottenham's biggest problem this season has been the home form. It's been disastrous. And that's because so many of the players are struggling with the expectation and the disgruntlement and the fans. It's difficult. Any stadium's difficult when it's not going well. But that's a massive stadium with a huge fan base. And too many of those players can't cope with it. And they're not being coached very well. So my feeling in the hierarchy of Spurs would be to go, who can I bring in? It doesn't have to be a tactical genius. Who can I bring in that's going to bring this together? A bit like we saw, I remember Everton staying up one season where it felt like Goodison kept them up.
Mm-hmm.
The football, like you had to score a goal or you had to fight and run around, but it was the Evertonians kept them up. Maybe it was Lampard when he kept them up.
The whole energy of the stadium, I know they're all fighting the same cause.
Because as a player, what happens is, if the fans turn up to the next home game, and let's say they bring in Harry or Tim Sherwood or Robbie Keane or somebody they relate, somebody they know who gets it, Glenn Hoddle, whoever.
Chris Hughton, yeah.
Chris. That, at least for the first 20 minutes or half an hour, as a player, they're with you. Because they're with the manager. And every pass becomes a little bit easier. Every tackle, every yard you run, you get a bit more energy from the crowd. And it's weird to think that can happen, but it does. We see it so often. That's why home form's generally better than away form. So I would be looking not at who's the long-term plan, who's tactically astute, who's had a bounce somewhere else before, who can bring these fans and these players together. I'd make it really simple from a football perspective. Where, I'd play pragmatically. I'd get the ball forward. They've got some big lumps up top. Put Muani, Richarlison. I'd get some crosses in. Do some basic stuff. Don't lose games by doing silly mistakes like they did at Forest. But it's that fan base coming together for these, what have they got, 3 home left or 4? 3 or 4 home games. In fact, I've got it. They've got Brighton at home, tough game, playing well. Leeds at home and Everton at home.
Yeah, 3 home games. Yeah.
And you could argue those, if they can get maybe one or 2 draws on the road to match
Leeds
that.
is huge, yeah.
The problem is they're in a unique situation because, as you say, your home form generally keeps you in the league, and then your away form determines where you finish. They can't win at home.
No, I know.
It's a really unique set of circumstances.
It is.
Where they can't win at home. There is a mistake in every game that they play that leads to a goal. And against these three sides, all of whom have fighters, all of whom are well organised. Again, I can't see where those points come from. Then you look at the away games, and again, they're not winning at Villa. They're not winning at Chelsea. Sunderland are,
good home record. Yeah,
good home record. I was at that game. You were in the side, the Fulham side. I always remember a group of us journalists were interviewing Roy Hodgson when he was in charge of Fulham, and they looked as though they were going to go down. And I remember him talking about tears in his eyes, because they'd lost a match and they were struggling. You guys were struggling to find some form, and he didn't know where it was going to come from. But he managed to get that fight out of that side. And I remember you beat West Brom, I think it was. You had a big result against West Brom, it might have been. I can't remember who it was. Oh, I think you had a big result against City.
City, that was right.
City.
Then we went on the run, yeah.
And you went
That's
on the run.
Yeah.
And that I saw that fight. But I'm telling you, in 25 years, I have never seen a Tottenham team with less fight than this Tottenham team.
Do you know what? And it does look that way. But I was trying to think about this yesterday when I was talking about it, and it's amazing how a bad plan and a group of players not on board with the plan can look like a lack of fight. So when you're not really engaged with the system or the plan, subconsciously you're not as energized about it. It's more gestured because you're not quite sure who's doing what where. Some players aren't playing where they really want to play, for example, and he hasn't really had a set team or formation in the games I've seen.
Can I just be a little bit specific about I know you've got to go to a break soon, so I'll be very, very quick. If I go through the team, Vicario's not good enough. He's unforced errors, and he's not good enough to keep goal for Tottenham. Romero believes he's too good for Tottenham and is too inconsistent. No chance should he be wearing that armband. People say he's won the World Cup. What you do for your club is a very, very different assignment that he's not able to do. You're not talking about 8 games. You're talking about 38
But it all boils down to the same thing,
leadership.
coaching. So if Thomas Frank had stripped him of the armband, give him a slap on the bum, pulled him out for a bit and said, you're not doing a job. You can't trust you. Keep getting sent off. I'm going to go with someone else. It all comes from the manager. That Tottenham team can be organised to look like it's got more fight.
But you're saying that. You're saying that. You played with people, and I know lots of other It starts with you. It starts with your... But
if you've got a good group,
it starts with you as a footballer. Tottenham, as a club, have had some legends over the years. It started with them, and that's why they won fans over, because they left their hearts, their hearts on the pitch. And I just don't see that with too many players. There are one or two others about to call out, but you probably saved me from myself because I got issues. And I just think that we want Spurs to stay up. Absolutely. And our heads, our logic says that they'll stay up. But I look at the 3 teams that are less fashionable than Tottenham Hotspur, and I see fighters and people who are prepared to be committed to keeping their clubs up.
Better teams, I think, is what you're saying. There may be better players at Tottenham, but there's better teams elsewhere in that.
I don't know. Some of the quality of the other teams is better.
No, it's fair. You can argue that. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White, for example, who we all thought was going to be a Spurs player, is still at Forest, scored against them yesterday. By the way, Tottenham's home record, in case you don't know, 1-2, drawn 4, lost 10 at home. It's the worst home record in the Premier League. Even Burnley's home record is better.
And this is the latest we've ever broken.
I know, and I'm in big trouble, and it's down to you guys.
It's not, because I stopped when I heard it in my ear.
By the way,
I didn't stop.
Jason Cundy describes him as Mickey can't defend, which I think is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And those two, I think, are back on the sports bar later. I mean, listen, Chelsea got battered, Spurs got battered,
Liverpool.
Everybody got battered. That show is going to be unmissable tonight on talkSPORT.
If you cast your mind back to the Antonio Conte days, you may remember one press conference in particular, which has gone down in Spurs history. Last week marked 3 years since this iconic rant. Let's have a listen again.
They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Yeah, it's easy in this way. And Tottenham story is this. 20 years that there is the owner and never won something. But why? Only for the fault is only for the club or for every manager that stay here? And I have seen the manager that Tottenham had on the bench. You risk to disrupt the figure of the manager and to protect the other situation in every moment. And now, until now, I try to hide the situation, but now no, because I repeat, I don't want to see what I have seen today, because this is unacceptable. Also for the respect for the fans. They follow us, pay the tickets, and to see the team another time, to have this type of performance, for me, I repeat, this is unacceptable.
Wow.
Hey.
You lost the plot there, didn't you? I didn't hear no press. They were loving it, weren't they, the press?
Go and hide.
Do you know that was after, Ali? I've been told that was after the 3-3 draw at Southampton. And if they'd won that game, they would have gone into third place.
Joking.
Third place. So that's amazing.
Monaco, Singapore, Las Vegas. What do they all have in common? Well, they're all F1 street circuits. 20 years ago, the sports only visited 3 a year. From 2026, there'll be 10, despite the actual racing often being worse. So why? Why are there so many street circuits? Cars racing past the Casino Monte Carlo is one of the iconic images in all of sport. But in the last few years, it's been joined in the Street Circuit Club by the dazzling Grand Prix on the Las Vegas Strip, in Miami, Azerbaijan and others. And there's no sign of the trend slowing down. The streets of Madrid have also gotten involved, and there are conversations about Grand Prix in the capitals of Thailand and Rwanda. But fitting them in means we said goodbye to classic circuits like Hockenheim and Imola, angering fans who are still packing out the European tracks like Spa, the Hungaroring and Monza. And these generally produce more wheel-to-wheel action than street circuits too. At Silverstone in 2025, there were a total of 26 on-track overtakes. At Monaco, 4. I'm an F1 enthusiast. Even I struggle with that. But it appears to be a good step. In 2025, there was a record 2.3 million strong viewership for the Monaco Grand Prix in the US alone. Meanwhile, for the British Grand Prix several weeks.
It's talkSPORT, it's kick-off. I'm Adrian, Durham, Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis with me. Let's go back to the Carabao Cup final. City winning 2-0 and both goals from Nico O'Reilly. Are you a fan of Fawlty Towers? Can we call him Orally?
Do you know, that might get lost on me. I've never watched an episode of Fawlty Towers.
Shut up.
I absolutely have to admit. I know of it, of course.
Manuel.
Yeah, I know
Darren,
Manuel.
get out. Get out. That was just outrageous.
Another walkout on talkSPORT.
That's unbelievable. I didn't mean it. Come back. Anyway.
You've been telling us next you've never seen Only Fools and Horses.
No, I've seen bits of episodes, but I've never seen a whole episode of Only Fools. I saw the where the guy where he leans on the.
You haven't seen it?
I thought you were talking about Fawlty Towers. You've only seen bits of episodes of Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah, I've never watched it. I'm sorry.
My goodness, what's going on here?
Do you know what? Sometimes, I mean, every day's a school day, isn't it?
Well, it should be for him. Jeez, he's got so much to learn.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Look, to school me, tell me one episode of Only Fools and Horses I should watch. That is
the one with the chandelier.
Chandelier. Okay, all right. I will watch it. I'm back next week. We're doing the show next week. I will watch it.
If you don't laugh at that, there's something seriously wrong with you, honestly.
Oh, no, I did like the one where he leaned on the bar. And he said, just play it cool, play it cool.
Play it cool, Rodney.
I did like that, but I didn't watch all of it. I've never watched a whole episode. I just know the clips.
I don't know if I can carry on. How have you lived this long?
I
What are
know.
you, 60? What are you?
Shut up. I'm in my early 50s.
Oh,
60.
really?
See, I'm shaving this beard.
Yeah, well, I mentioned O'Reilly. It's O'Reilly who got both goals yesterday. It was a day after his 21st birthday. And Danny Murphy, it was not long after he'd had a bit of a shocker in the Burnabout in the first leg, hadn't he? And he's come back from that. That mentality I really like. And the fact that he was left back into midfield and then he's furthest forward in Erling Haaland's position. This is some player. Now, I actually first watched him before he got in the City team. I used to, for Champions League games with City, I used to go across the road and watch the UEFA Youth League games, and he was playing in one of those against Inter Milan, and City were well beaten, 4 or 5-2, I think it was. But there were a couple of players that stood out. There's the kid in midfield who's gone to Norwich, whose name escapes me, and Nico O'Reilly was playing at 10, and he was absolutely fantastic. Really stood out. From both teams, he stood out. And then I find he's in the first team in midfield and then left back, and it just... Has he got a football intelligence that's very rare at such a young age to be able to do all the things he did on the pitch yesterday?
Yeah, I think a lot of top players who come through young have a very good football IQ, and in fact they adapt really easily and quickly. I mean, he's a lovely technical footballer with a wonderful athleticism, so that's why he can play in different roles. I do think long term he's not going to be a left back. I think he's, because of the size, and it's hard for him against real high quality level wingers and quick players to cope. But that doesn't matter because he's still learning.
Where do you think he'll play?
I think he'll be a midfielder, because in midfield he's got the physical presence, technically more than capable, and he can score a goal. And when you start showing that you can continue, like, because he scored, this ain't the only time he scored. I think he had another brace this season as well, but he's always getting in there. So you find a way, you find somewhere, he'll find his position. But it's a great weapon for him to have in terms of England selection, you know, getting in such a big team at City, because the fact that he's adaptable. And left-footers, there's not as many left-footers as right-footers, so that's always a bonus.
Can I ask you both? He has been brought through by Pep, a lot of patience, very similar to Phil Foden, when lots of people were saying, get out there, go and play regularly, and Foden kept his counsel, played 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and eventually really did flourish, double player of the year. But he's been really well coached. With England, he's going to get 8 games and basically players are going to be ticking over. And my worry is that we are not going to see the same Nico O'Reilly that we see at club level. Is that fair?
I think that is fair, but it doesn't have to be like that, does it?
I don't think. Name me a player you've seen perform better at England than you have at his club level in 20 years.
This is a great point.
Yeah.
You don't, because you don't have the same rhythm, cohesion, the same confidence, all of it.
Well, why with England? But then we see France, Spain, Brazil, you know, where players do manage to retain that level and go to major tournaments and thrive at major tournaments.
Well, I think, I mean, you'd need a bit of time to analyse that, but you're talking about...
England have been thriving at major tournaments.
Yeah, they've done well.
Yeah. Thriving?
Well, 2018, yeah.
No.
Existing.
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned Brazil there.
Well, no. But hang on a minute. I've listened, and this is where the context is important. The soundtrack to England getting to the final of our last major tournament wasn't pretty. We had big debates about our lack of goals. We had guys who know how to score goals.
No, you're right. You're spot on. But the actual point we're talking about...
Sorry, go on.
The point we're talking about is a collective group who can, and with great individuals who can surpass their league form. Now, even with those brilliant Spanish teams and the French team that's got to a couple of World Cup finals with Mbappe and stuff, you could argue that their form is the same as. You're only saying surpassed because maybe Mbappe's scored an hat-trick in a World Cup final. You can't compare what he's doing at club level.
I'd continue, but I'm just going to say, we got to a final or a semi-final playing 3-5-2. And basically trying to stop other teams from playing. That was in the European Championship under Southgate. In the last tournament, we got there playing football that everybody was critical of in 2024. Right. Whereas if you look at France, if you look at Spain, if you look at Brazil, when they have coaches who don't play the way that they expect the national team to play, they're gone.
Well, actually, I mean... the French ones, the Spanish one, you're right. The difference is with the Spanish is that generally Spanish football and nearly all their coaches and teams are generally technically gifted possession teams. They want to play the same way. So when the international manager brings them together, he's not bringing together little pieces of a jigsaw. He's got to try and fit together because you've got Pep's players who are coached differently than Arteta's or Klopp's English players at Liverpool. They're all coached a bit differently. You're trying to bring them together. The Spanish guys come in and they all know what they're doing. The French is actually a contradiction. For their success has been based on a very pragmatic, workman-like manager who's actually faced loads of criticism, even though he's a success with them, because of the style they play. They've been heavily relying on Griezmann and Mbappe for a long time. And the reality is, we've all done the tournaments. The French have never been that great to watch. Only when Mbappe has his moments, it's like, oh.
Yeah, true.
But he's retained his position because he's won the World Cup.
Yes, but not by playing brilliant football.
Yeah, but if you win the World Cup,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. It does. But we're talking about why England players can't surpass or maintain their club form at international level, from club level to international level. And my gut feeling is that because they're all at such different styles, clubs, that's why we love the Premier League, by the way.
I do agree.
You don't watch the Premier League now, and we haven't done for a long time, where, we talked about Klopp's chaotic football, City's more possession-based, Arteta's come in and been, now he's built this physical, defensively brilliant team. So you're getting different messages, and then Tuchel's getting them all together now and trying to...
Yeah.
So maybe...
He's literally getting them all together. Give them the size of...
The argument is... Kane beats the argument because Kane scores for England on a ridiculously regular level. But he's one of the best strikers in the world.
Yeah.
And Mbappe's one of the best strikers in the world. So...
I listen...
It's a good point, and it should temper the analysis of when, we've got 2 games coming up, and you know what it's like. Hammering England's a national sport now, probably more than the actual football. But I think as far as getting them together is concerned, Danny makes a great point. You've got lots of different styles all coming together, and then we wonder why we don't see the same player in an England shirt that we do in a City shirt or an Arsenal shirt.
Well, that to me is that's why the England manager gets paid the big bucks. That's his job to sort that out, and we'll see if Thomas Tuchel can sort that out. I'm running out of time here because I've got to talk about Arsenal some more. So we'll do that very shortly. It's Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes, 18+, gambleaware.org.
One of the big talking points was, have you heard about the result from the North East? Sunderland go to St James's Park and won, and they did. Sunderland completed the domestic double over their rivals thanks to a late 2-1 win at Newcastle, and it sees Sunderland leapfrog Newcastle in the league, 1 point clear in 11th. It's hard to imagine it, Martin, but in their debut Premier League return, are they now firmly out of Newcastle's shadow?
Well, okay, Eddie was saying about the number of games that they've had to play and the calibre of player they're up against. The squad maybe is not equipped well enough, perhaps, to with all the resources they've got financially. They haven't been able to capitalise on that, have they, because of the financial fair play? So, but in the meantime, Sunderland have caught up with them. Jacques is a really important player, by the way. When he was out for a while, Sunderland suddenly started looking like a championship team.
Yeah.
But now that he's back in the team, Brobby up top. Too much to handle. Couldn't deal with him, Jim. And it's all these games, successive games. But it was a big game in the minds of these Newcastle players. They put it there as a one that they could go and win it. And it's tricky now for Eddie between now and the end of the season, Jim, to try and fix this problem.
Well, it is. Simon, a difficult week for him.
Yeah.
7-2 capitulation in Barcelona. Then they lose at home to their closest of rivals. What is the more chastening result for Eddie?
I think probably the Sunderland result, because it follows on the back of a necessity to bounce back. You've got to live in this city, and the rivalry between these two football clubs is significant. You've already been beaten by them once.
Arsenal losers, bottled it. Say what you want. Call them what you want. And you're probably right. But the question now is how they respond to it. Lost 2-0 in the cup final. Let's hear from Mikel Arteta. He was asked if he regretted starting Kepa in goal.
Yeah, well, I think he's played the whole competition. He's the one that helped us to be where we are today, and I think it would have been incredible and unfair because he hasn't given any signs of other than that he's more than capable to play. He's played in the past these kind of games, and unfortunately it happened in the most crucial moment.
He's played in the past in those kind of games. You've seen him play in those finals. Flipping heck, honestly. And he helped us get this far, by beating Port Vale. And even Chelsea in the semi-final. Come on.
I'm going against the grain on this one.
Are you with him on picking Kepa?
Danny.
I just think...
Well, how can you be after what
I've been at finals with Liverpool, watching with my boys, watching Kelleher be the hero, and, you know, you make choices where you... Jurgen Klopp, I don't know if you've seen the piece, been thrown out there a lot the last day or two since this has happened, where he says, after the final when Kelleher scored, and he said, I'm a football manager. I'm a human being as well. And when you have a group of players that you work with every day and you give them some reassurances, promises, which managers do because you've got to keep them on board somehow. Irrelevant whether you need to win the League Cup, I know it's important, but he wouldn't have thought that Kepa's going to cost them the game. He's an established keeper. Now, he's not as good as Raya. We all know that. And he's made a right mess of it. But if he'd have pulled him and said, I'm actually putting Raya back in, now, you might say it doesn't matter if he leaves, get another number 2 and be cynical and all that, but the dynamic of the group is important. Hindsight's easy to say like this, that if Trafford had made the same mistake, we'd probably be saying Donovan should have played. But where's that leave Trafford?
There's a massive thing you're missing here. First of all, James Trafford was signed as a number 1 and then they signed Donnarumma. So Pep Guardiola definitely...
became a 2.
Yeah, but he owes him, because he's signed him as a number 1. And James Trafford has gone public and said he was expecting more games this season. Kepa's been signed as a number 2.
Probably 120 grand a week. I don't think he
Hold on. Yeah, but you're talking about playing in a final.
Yeah, no,
and it's a big thing. Kepa has been signed as a number 2. He's already had the career. He doesn't need that money. He's already played in 2 finals. It's bad management, because what Arteta should have done, knowing that Arsenal need to get over the line, is said to his keepers, listen, this is what I'm going to do. Kepa, you're going to be in goal. However, if it's a game I feel where we need the best keeper in the country, possibly Player of the Year. Let's have that discussion at some point. He could easily win Player of the Year, David Raya. Why on earth, when you desperately as a club need to get over the line, would you not play that best keeper? So Mikel Arteta, if he has made those promises, and I think he must have done,
probably,
because I think it would have got to Wembley. It would have got to Wembley, and he would have picked Raya if he hadn't made the promises.
Listen, I'm with 100% with Danny.
Well, you're wrong,
and I defend.
I understand either argument.
The Arteta over this, because, yeah, I can see your argument, but the bottom line is, football is about management. You're not talking about robots. You're talking about guys who come to your club, and to keep them happy and motivated. There are 2 other competitions where your first choice keeper can keep goal.
3?
Premier League, 3, exactly, because they've got the quadruple. So it is sound, it's respect, it's decency to be able to say to a keeper that you've brought in, that is a Spanish international, I'm going to let you keep goal for one of our major competitions. And all this thing about owing, it's management. It's treating experienced professionals with respect, and I don't have a single problem with him putting him into.
Nor do I. But the only one thing I heard Jamie Carragher say, which I agreed with him on to a point, was where he said, Arteta owes the Arsenal fans more than Kepa because they haven't won a trophy in 6 years, is it?
Yep.
5, 6 years.
Well, hang on a minute, though. Here's my issue with that.
Go on.
Which Arsenal fan moaned about Kepa ahead of the final?
There was a discussion we had on air about it.
No. I'm not talking about on the day and his selection. I'm talking about his quality. We have spent, and this is...
No one wins about it in the semi-final.
No. That's not what I mean.
No, I'm backing you. You don't get Arsenal fans moaning about him playing in the semi-final against Chelsea where he could have made a mistake to lose it, no?
Yeah, but this is the final.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Chelsea are still a high-level side. And as you said, you mentioned Port Vale, but you got Chelsea, a top side against whom...
He could have messed up.
He could have messed up. And he came through that. If anything, you would argue that Chelsea's forward line at the moment is more potent than City's forward line because Haaland isn't anywhere near his top form. But as far as Kepa's concerned, he kept a clean sheet. I think it's really unfair to... He's made a mistake and he's got to carry the can for that.
But he'll probably drop it.
Do you know what I would... Yeah, he probably would. Yeah, I like that. Do you know what I would say, in a way? It's probably taken away from the real chat, which is why Arsenal didn't have a go more in the least important trophy they're going for.
Yes.
Why not mix it up and go, you know, let's go after them?
Well, he's completely bottled it by not bringing on Darren, who saved them against Everton. Why wouldn't you bring him on at Wembley in the final when you're losing 2-0 and you need something, a bit of magic? It's an obvious choice, and yet. Well, again, why are you laughing? What's wrong with you?
The only thing
You're going to put that. Sorry, go on.
The only thing I'd say with that, Aid, is Madueke's done well for him, and he wasn't starting, so he wanted to get him on. Martinelli's done well for him; he wanted to get him on. I'm with you. I'd have thrown him on as well. But I can see that sometimes I watch managers overthink and think, well, because they have different relationship with different players. And I've been on the bench watching Houllier back in the day when we were going for our treble. Can see him. Should I get him on? Is it the right thing to do? I've seen Houllier bring on Milan Barros in a League Cup final against Man United. Bring him on late and then take him off before the final whistle because he wanted to put another defender on, and he just decided
he wants to win the final.
Yeah, but no, he also in the chaos. I mean, I don't even think he thought, oh, I've only put him on 20 minutes ago. Because he was just, and it came. It's management at the top level in the big games. You've got this ability to judge them from afar without being in their shoes and thinking, Madueke deserves to go. Martin deserves, Jesus, I've got to get him on. He's been here for it. I'm not playing.
He's thinking, I owe Kepa, I owe Martinelli. No, stick Darren on. He'll probably save you in this final. And by the way, they played 90 minutes with 10 men because Bukayo Saka, as much as I love him, I am hoping desperately that he's saving it all for England at the World Cup.
He's struggling a bit, yeah.
I mean, struggling.
Adrian.
He's falling over all the time expecting a free kick. Kai Havertz did the same yesterday.
Hold on.
Well, which bit of that is wrong?
We have to move away from this culture of hanging the responsibility for a defeat around a Kepa or around a... I disagree with you both.
Kepa for completely dropped the ball for the first goal. Bukayo Saka's the captain.
No, but I was just saying, Daz, I was just bringing up the fact that it's hidden from the fact that so many other players in the team didn't really play well.
Absolutely.
He's been the scapegoat.
100%.
And actually, if he hadn't made the mistake that he's still lost, maybe we'd be looking at some of the others.
100%.
But he did.
100%.
But he did.
And we can say others didn't play well. Leandro Trossard, I don't know why he was picked to start the game. I don't get that at all. I appreciate they've got injuries and Odegaard and Eza were out, so 10 was a problem for them. Kai Havertz did not do the job he was asked to do, hence he's dragged after an hour and a bit. So, and Gyökeres didn't... I mean, I'm still wondering, but you can criticise a lot.
All of that is fair, right? Well, what I would question is the mentality of the Arsenal side going into the game. It looked... Okay, they had their decent first 25 minutes, but then afterwards it looked as though they set out to contain. And the more City grew into the match, the more Arsenal shrank into themselves.
Yeah, but you're right. And that's exactly what happened. But that you got to understand the level of quality you're up against. So even though your mindset might be, let's try and have a go and get out and get after them, when a good City have got some unbelievable footballers who, I mean, when you've got Rodri and Bernardo Silva who've won everything, they were playing it like they were enjoying themselves.
100%.
The Arsenal players are desperate to get the first trophy, and I've played in games where we're desperate and no one plays well, and you sneak over the line, you just think, thank God. And the next time you're playing a big one, you relax more and you enjoy it. And Rodri and Bernardo Silva were playing like, I've won God knows what. I'll just play my normal. It did feel a bit like Turkey was playing like Turkey was playing like he was with his mates.
Yeah.
This is my point about the fact that, everyone is talking about Arsenal being winners of the quadruple and winners of the league, but City know how to navigate this section of the season.
Yeah, that's
this final few games, final few weeks. They've got a manager who has been here, seen it, done it. I loved Guardiola's celebration that's been replayed ad nauseum on social media, because to question his appetite for winning this competition when he's been to finals and whatever else, and he stuck up for himself in the press conference, and rightly so. I loved it. So many people have written City off and said they were a busted flush, and they're still writing them off in the title race because Arsenal got the points advantage. And I said before on the last version of this show, we've seen big teams drop leads before. We've seen Arsenal drop leads. Arsenal have form for losing the league. City have form for coming from behind. And they are teaching us in real time, stop playing this game on paper.
Just quickly, because we've got to go to break again, we're late. Do you want them to win it?
Do I want Arsenal to win it, the league? What do you think? Of course not.
Okay.
I mean, and listen, there's a lot of people don't like Arsenal because their fan base is basically deluded.
I'm not getting into that.
No, it's the reality. It's like, I heard an Arsenal fan who works here, Harry Simeus, saying, Max Dowman, the very best ever that England has produced. I'm thinking, come on. And talk about putting pressure on a youngster. But everything is the best ever. Declan Rice is the best ever deal. They take the best ever corners. Gabriel's the best ever defender. David Raya is the best ever goalkeeper.
I think it's so disrespectful to even talk about Darren for the World Cup. Let this boy develop. Let him play. I don't believe he should even have come on as the supposed saviour for this final, because he is so young.
Yeah,
he's got so much to do.
What should they have done with Yamal? Left him out the Euros when he won it. He was arguably one of the best players there.
Was different.
It's not different. Highly talented youngster.
He'd been electrifying the league and the Champions League before they got anywhere near a final. There's a big difference.
Dowman's just electrified the Premier League. Didn't come on at Wembley
with one goal.
An assist.
And an assist.
And a goal. Thank you.
An assist and a goal.
Well, what else
Welcome
could he do
to
in that
British
game?
football.
He's not been given enough chances by Arteta. And by the way, there was something glorious about Arsenal blowing the title from here and Spurs going down. That would be one of the most momentous seasons in Premier League history. And I'm here for it. We're all here for it, aren't we? This is talkSPORT. It's the world's most vocal Arsenal fan, Piers Morgan. Good morning, Piers, or is it a good morning, my friend? Good morning, Piers.
Can I just say that when your brilliant team, well, good morning, first of all, Ali, and particularly, of course, to Ray and Emmanuel, two great heroes of mine. When I agreed to do this interview, obviously I did so in the overconfident expectation that I would be regaling your listeners, and indeed the three of you, with my joyous recounting of Arsenal's triumphant victory. So to say that when I woke up this morning and suddenly remembered what I had to do was one of the worst moments of my life is the understatement of the millennium. But anyway, good morning to you.
Listen, we do appreciate at least it wasn't a no-show, Piers. It wasn't a no-show.
No, I didn't pull an Adam Brazil.
No, there was no slight strain in the hamstring from you this morning, to be fair. Where did it go wrong?
Well, we didn't turn up, did we?
Yeah.
And there is an issue here. I mean, look, I've been listening this morning. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the difference between Arteta and Guardiola, I think, was laid bare a little bit yesterday with this decision about the goalkeeper. Because when Arteta...
Corinthian Casuals are a team in the Combined Counties League Premier Division South. Despite that, they're one of the most important clubs in world football. Here's why. The club was formed in 1939 as the result of a merger between Corinthians FC and Casuals FC. Now, Corinthians FC were founded in the late 1800s when the FA's top brass were sick of getting pumped by Scotland every time they played them. As a result, a man called Nicholas Lane Jackson set up an amateur side which would bring in the best players who could all play for the national side. And it worked. It wasn't long before England were dominating the international fixtures they played, and it was largely down to Corinthians. In fact, in 1894 and 1895, they played consecutive games where Corinthians provided the entire England 11. But the thing is, the players refused to play professional football. They didn't believe in it. They wanted to spread the values of sportsmanship, competition, and played for the love of the game. It also helped that most of the players were Oxbridge graduates who didn't need the money. But instead of entering the league and cup competitions, they played exhibition football and toured the world, bringing the beautiful game with them. And it was this which spread the game throughout the world and made it so popular. Most famously, in 1910, they travelled to Brazil. And the locals in Sao Paulo were so impressed, they started their own team under the same name. Yes, the same Corinthians who won the FIFA Club World Cup in 2021, one of the biggest football teams in Brazil. Now, they were global superstars, and despite not being professional, Corinthians drew in the crowds. Everybody wanted to play them, everybody wanted to watch them. So much so, they regularly played the winners of the FA Cup in what eventually became the Community Shield, winning most of the time. They actually inflicted Manchester United's worst defeat, 11-3, a record which still stands to this day. Now, fast forward to today, Corinthian Casuals still don't pay their staff or players. The ethos of sportsmanship is still at the heart of everything that they do. And even though they're a side in the lower leagues, if you make the trip to King George's Field in Tolworth just off the A3, you'll most likely bump into Brazilian Corinthians.
Kick-off on talkSPORT. I'm Adrian, Durham, Darren Lewis and Danny Murphy are with me. And let me just reiterate what I just said. If Arsenal do blow the title from here and Spurs go down, what's not to love? And you got to remember that this is talkSPORT, where we love a big story, and both of those will be massive stories that everybody will want to talk about. And if Arsenal do blow the title, people will love it. And if Spurs go down, people will love it. That's the reality of football. This is why we love talkSPORT. By the way, Ben White chat is going to be 9:30, the Ben White chat, I think it is. This is a player who doesn't seem to be bothered that he doesn't even play regularly for Arsenal, and somehow he's got called back into the England squad, and he might be sitting at home deciding whether he wants to play for England or not. Clearly not bothered if he plays for Arsenal or not. Incredible. £50 million sub, and he's not even bothered whether he plays, and yet he's been called up for England. Absolute standards, Thomas Tuchel. What are you thinking of? More on that at 9:30. We'll get the views of the ex-England midfielder Danny Murphy on it. Time now, though, to look at our magic moments of the weekend, all thanks to Ladisfaction from Ladbrokes.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Ever dreamt of playing at Anfield? Place a £5 bet builder at selected odds on the Ladbrokes app, and you just might. 25 plus. Terms and conditions apply. Gambleaware.org.
Magic moments. Now, this is actually an idea that I thought up. By the way, rare good idea from me. And the idea was that, yes, there's a lot of negativity around. We'll all glory in Arsenal failing. We'll all glory in Spurs relegation. But there's a lot to love about football. So we wanted to embrace those magic moments in football every weekend. So what I'm going for is James Garner's pass and Beto's finish. I mean, the pass was brilliant. The finish... wow, the little dink, little swerve and screw on the ball, just absolutely superb. That is high quality football, and I'm here for it. I'm loving that all day of the way. I don't care who does that. You have to admire that football. And here's the thing, right? I was thinking, as I was rewatching that goal, thinking, this is magic football. That pass is superb. Vision, execution, superb from a really good player. Deserves his place in the England squad. The finish from Beto, who, let's not forget how difficult his start was in English football. And he's come through that mentality.
I'm pleased for him.
Come through that. And the quality of that finish. You've got to admire that football. And here's me thinking, hang on a minute. After West Ham had won a cup, they wanted Moyes out because West Ham weren't playing good enough football. Have a look at that goal, West Ham, while you're in the bottom three. That's what you're missing out on. I mean, there's some stupid people around. Why they wouldn't want that at West Ham, I don't know. But that was brilliant. That's my magic moment of the weekend. Garner's pass, Beto's finish. Danny Murphy, what are you going for?
I'm going for my old mate, Brian Brobby.
Mr. Brobby?
Yes, Mr. Brobby. Stealing my line from last night.
Sorry, that had to be done, mate. I actually think it went over the heads of the people with you in the studio, didn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, what, are they like him? They've never watched TV.
It happens a lot.
Actually, Darren, you watched The Office? You seen that?
Yes, I have seen
You have watched The Office? Gavin and Stacey done that?
No.
Flipping heck, honestly.
It's bizarre.
It's unacceptable.
Middle to upper.
Do you ever watch football, by the way?
Once or twice.
Anyway, sorry.
So, I thought the whole second half performance from Sunderland was incredible, really, because they gave away a stupid goal. Newcastle were out in first half, could have maybe been 2 up. Recovered really well and actually went after them. And a great mentality to go, you know what? We're going to take a risk here. We know they've played midweek. We've got good legs in the team, and we've got a striker who does things that strikers should do. And I am, more I see him, the more I like him, and the more I think he could be a really, really good player, because he enjoys the side of the game that 80% of the strikers we watch don't. He wants to win headers against you. He wants to back into you and roll you and pin you and fight you. I played with Bobby Zamora. He was one of the, at his best, was probably as good as I played with at pinning people because of his size and his presence, and enjoyed it. And I look at him and I watch him and I think, I'd love to play with him. Because you know when you flip it up there or the long one goes up, as long as it's a good ball up to him, it's even if it doesn't stick, which it does most of the time, the defender ain't getting it. It's not having it easy. So you have this focal point in your team that allows you to get up the pitch. And for a team that's not a possession-based dominant team, that is so important. It's actually important for any team, really. You know, years ago, when I started playing, nearly every side had a striker who you could knock it up to.
Well, Arsenal could have done with him yesterday, couldn't they?
Yeah, because Gyökeres struggles with that. Even though he's a lump, he really struggles with that. Robbie was the trigger for their second half comeback. Everything good came through him. And then, of course, it's all well and good being strong and physical and all that if you don't score. And I know he's not been a prolific because he doesn't always play. I think he's got 6 or 7. He scored some big goals, got the one against Arsenal. He scored a wonder goal at Tottenham. You know, he's contributing. And to get the winner in a game like that for him kind of validated his whole work ethic and his selflessness. And I just thought it was a great moment. And I don't know if you saw the interview after. Did you see his interview after?
Yeah, where he talked about Dan Burn.
Yeah, well, and he said, I won.
Yeah, well, he did.
He did. But it wasn't just Dan Burn. He bullied Botman. And Chow did all right when he come on, and he stayed away from Chow a little bit because he's obviously a really good physical player. But he had a little tussle with him and all. But, yeah, Big Dan struggled with him, and anyone would, actually. It's not nothing against Dan Burn. I mean, I've seen him that game when they played Arsenal at home, he roughed them up. And they're 2 of the best, 2 of the biggest. So, yeah, I thought it was a really, really nice moment. And the interview just topped it off for me. I just thought, you know what? Well played. Have a bit, proud of himself.
And it was a big moment, a magic moment. A late winner from Brian Brobby. Not the greatest goal. It's not going to win goal of the season. But for him, it's probably the best goal and greatest goal he'll score this season. Possibly even for Sunderland in his career there. Darren Lewis, what are you going for?
I am not going to go for a goal. I know I normally do, but I'm going to go for Ryan Cherky and his keepy-uppy and his moment of skill.
Oh, controversial.
Well,
Pep didn't like it.
No, Pep didn't like it because there is this kind of unwritten sporting code, isn't there, that you don't take the
Mickey.
Mickey, I was going to say, yes. And
you don't belittle the opposition.
Yeah, and I don't think he was trying to do that, but I think by that stage he was part of a City side that had earned the opportunity to be able to do that. And let's not kid ourselves. When we are kids and we play the game, when we play football in the playground, they're the kind of cheeky moments that we love indulging in. Then we get into the professional game, and of course all the joy is coached out of us and encouraged out of us. But I love that as an expression of superiority, if you like. I don't have a problem or as much of a problem with it as other people do. And I think it's irrespective of the teams involved. I'm not interested in this whole, it's anti-Arsenal, whatever else. I just think if you are in a side that earns the right for you to be on the sidelines doing that, I don't have a problem with it at all.
What does the ex-professional think?
I'm not a fan. I think it's a bit self-indulgent. I agree with what you say about showing creativity and skill and being confident and brash, and I love all that. So do you remember he was down on the right-hand side of the box and he did a couple of bits of tricks and skill, and the two defenders were trying to, and he was like drag backs, and then he spins out and he passes it, and I'm thinking, whoa, that is what I like. You know, the keepy-uppy thing is, look at me, it's all about me. And I think when you do that too often, it'll bite you. So don't give somebody a reason to bite you. Now, the only saving grace for him in that respect is, when I started playing, if you did that, you'd probably get injured. Someone would take a red for you. That won't happen now. That won't happen now.
No.
Well, Ben White did foul him.
Well, he did. He gestured it. Didn't even. If you're going to, he should have smashed him properly. He didn't even go through. He just kind of pulled out at the last minute.
I thought that was why Tuchel had picked him now, because he can smash people.
Yeah, exactly. Now, but if you think
there's a bit of old school against new school with this one, in some, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean that in a more.
Well, the other thing, it was 2-0 with 20 minutes to go.
That's my point. That is exactly my point.
That's not the time. 89th, 90th, maybe. But the problem you've got is that you leave yourself, if you're moving forward in the game, it's like senior players, you say, be careful how you speak to people or what you say, especially if you get in an argument with senior players, because you might be playing with them next season, and people you get a reputation for being a certain way.
But I suppose what my point is the equivalent, and I was just, as you were talking, thinking about it in my mind, it's the equivalent of a boxer who's, being a bit flamboyant in the ring.
And everyone wants him to get knocked out.
A jockey who is 10 lengths clear and has a cheeky little look over his shoulder. Sport is full of moments like the kind of audacity that he showed in that moment. And I do make you right, it will boil the blood of the opponents, regardless of who the opponents are. But I want to see that. We should all want to see expressions of
but the
cheek, audacity, skill.
Keeping up when no one's around you is actually not achieving anything. Bits of skill and nutmegging someone, and his little great bit of skill in the box, and it's like even the Rabona he did for the goal earlier in the season.
Cross, yeah.
But the point you're making is, and I agree with you, we want to see that in context with the game.
Yeah.
Right? But this is what I mean about old school against new school, because there'll be lots of young people say, I ain't got a problem with that. If you can't stop us, if we have this much superiority, and I'm
not that offended. It's just self.
Just giving I get it. And actually, if Arsenal fans are upset about it, I'd refer you to Miles Lewis-Skelly pretending to do the same celebration as Erling Haaland did. And since then, Lewis-Skelly has got himself out of the Arsenal squad and out of the England squad and out of the first team picture at Arsenal completely.
Like I say, it's not just about Arsenal. We've seen it many, many times, and we've seen many, many people react badly to it. And I understand that, I get that, but what I'm saying is we love football. We love the cheeky people, cheeky chappies, and we want to see that.
That's your magic moment. You're sticking to it, even though... Those were our magic moments of the weekend that brought us satisfaction. All thanks to Ladbrokes, 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Ever dreamt of playing at Anfield? Place a £5 bet builder at selected odds on the Ladbrokes app, and you just might. 25 plus terms and conditions apply. Gambleaware.org.
Villa back in the top four. West Ham stay in the bottom three. We'll talk about that next. It's kick-off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes, 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Matt, the Tottenham fan. And Matt, what do you know, has called in. Matt, good afternoon. Where are you at after that home defeat to Forest, mate?
Well, guys, nice speaking to you.
Nice to speak to you, Matt.
It's not a great position to be in, to be honest. And thanks to Martin's team, the gloss, the pressure has been taken away because you guys are too busy. You media lot are too busy battering a team that's 9 points clear, and you're looking for a downfall from that football club. Yet you look down the road, and you guys can't even have the decency within yourselves to actually start pointing fingers, and all you want to do is blame manager after manager and that player and the other player, but you just can't bring it to yourselves to actually go, do you know what? It was that previous chairman, that parasite, which I'll never give him airtime to say his name because he's Simon's mate, who he can't even have the guts, because he's too busy protecting his mate, to have the guts to actually go, do you know what? Actually, it stemmed from him because they told him, do what you please within the margins. He then does what he wants.
Yeah, but Matt, here's the thing, mate. Daniel Levy wasn't playing on the pitch yesterday when you lost 3-0 to Nottingham Forest.
Jim, let me explain something to you, mate.
Yes.
Let me explain something to you. You got talkSPORT producers.
It's kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm Adrian Durham. Danny Murphy used to play for Liverpool in England. He's with us. Darren Lewis. Who did you play for? Did you play for your school? Did you play for your school?
I did play for the school, yeah.
More than I did. I was useless at
Really?
football, honestly. I played rugby for the school, but not football. I was hopeless. Absolutely. I'm not one of these that's going to say to you, Joe, what? I had a few trials, but for that knee injury I had when I was 14, it really would have worked out for me. I was useless.
Do you know how many times I've had that conversation?
Have you?
Oh, my.
You must have random people coming up to you saying, yeah, I would have made it, but.
Yeah.
Really?
It's the most common thing. I've heard every excuse.
What's the best one you've heard?
I don't know.
Do you believe them?
No, I know there will be a very exceptional circumstance where someone didn't make it because of an injury or something, but very rarely that is. Or the most common one is the coach had it in for me. And I feel like saying, oh, well, funnily enough, I was when I was as a young kid scoring 5-10 goals every week. The coach never had it in for me. So what did you do? Like, what? The coach had it in for you, even though you were brilliant and you should have been at Man United.
I think you're best up just holding your hands up. Let's talk about the Villa. I always had confidence that Villa would be okay because I knew that Tielemans was coming back, and he came back on as sub yesterday. And I think they'll be, if he stays fit and McGinn stays fit, I think they'll be okay for the rest of the season. You got to bear in mind, Villa's drop off, right, came when Camara out for the season.
Yep.
Tielemans was out injured. McGinn went out. That's your midfield. That's a good midfield three. That's a really good midfield three, and they've gone. Does anybody expect any side to cope with that easily? No,
it's big.
Absolutely not.
So they're McGinn's back and performing so well. Tielemans is back, and they've beaten West Ham, and I think Aston Villa are set fair for top 4 / top 5, aren't they?
Yeah,
easy.
And they're in a wonderful position because even though they've had a little dip, if you actually were a Villa fan and fell asleep at the beginning of the season and woke up now and saw where they are, you'd be like, amazing. Brilliant.
Still in the Europa, yep.
And favourites for it. You know, and they've got decent European experience in the last couple of years, so they could have it. I mean, I think the best thing for them is they go on a little run now, cement their place in the top 4 or 5, which could easily happen with the next few games they've got, and then they can enjoy the Europa League and not feel like, oh my God, we have to win it. Can really have a good go at it, free of that. You know, we're going to be in the Champions League anyway, so this could be a historic season for them.
Ollie Watkins hasn't had a great season numbers-wise, has he? I'm still a big fan of his. And in terms of England, I look at what he did in the semi-final and that goal he scored against the Netherlands, and I'm a big fan, and maybe I'm a sentimentalist, but a few people I know are surprised that he got into the squad, Darren. But with his England experience, I wasn't
He
surprised.
didn't get
at
in
all.
the squad, did he?
Did he? Ollie Watkins isn't in the squad. My apologies. they thought he shouldn't be in the squad, wasn't in the squad. I wanted him in the squad. So I'm a bit bewildered there.
Yeah, I mean, experience counts for a hell of a lot at major tournament level. And I was
Wouldn't it be
surprised
just
not
fair
to
to
see
say he's seen a bit of them already, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He hasn't seen Calvert-Lewin
and that's what I'm thinking, because it's not a final squad, is
before
it?
the World Cup.
There is this big, widely held opinion that if you're not in this squad, you need snookers. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that he could still make it.
I like that analogy.
And is that wrong?
I like it. I've never heard it like that used in that way before.
You watch snooker on telly?
I do watch.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But no, I think as far as Villa are concerned, it could actually benefit them. Took his goal well yesterday, and I think he might just have a point to prove that could work in Unai Emery and Villa's favour, and yet put him into the final reckoning as well. What's quite interesting about Villa is that when their form was good, their home form was particularly imperious, if you go back to last season as well. But as you said, the problem has been the loss of that midfield, which has robbed them of industry, creativity, and the ammunition for the goals that Watkins would have scored. But I think now they've got a great chance of winning the Europa League. They've got a guy who's won it goodness knows how many times. And they've got the quality. I don't see anything in the Europa League left. Whether Villa cement top four or not, I don't see anyone left in that competition to beat them to the trophy. So I think they will win that tournament. But I think as far as top four is concerned, theirs, with their players back, I think might be the most consistent form of all the contenders.
Yeah, I'm impressed when they've got that midfield going. I'm really impressed with Villa. West Ham stay in the bottom three. Are they going to go down?
No.
Do you think?
I did think for a long time they would, up until that game at Villa, where you could argue not many teams go and win there even when you're playing well. They'd lost 1 in 6. Now, if you're down the bottom, so let's say they've lost 2 in 7 now, that's good form. They're in games. They've got a couple of wins. I know they've lost Somerville, which is a blow. And I've looked at their fixtures and I wrote them all down because I was trying to be organised. And West Ham...
By the way, Danny's drawn a really lovely 3D box.
I do that all the time.
Doodling. Yeah. That's fantastic.
It's a psychologist's dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were actually to analyse.
Therapist dream. Don't know about psychologist.
No, but West Ham should beat Wolves on Friday night.
That's a massive one.
Yeah.
Then, if you look at their fixtures, Wolves, Palace, Everton, Brentford, next 4. Now, I know Everton playing well and Brentford are a tough team, but they're 4 games they look at and go, do you know what? We can get some out of all of them. We're not going to win them all, but they will be in all those games. None of those teams are going to go and roll West Ham over. So let's say they win, let's say they get 6 points out of the next 4 games. They could be well out of it.
Do you think David Moyes will get Everton motivated for the game against West Ham?
100%. 100%.
I don't think you can play for David Moyes without being motivated. He won't allow it, will he?
No.
He's done an amazing job.
But just on West Ham, the West Ham, they almost epitomise what I was saying earlier in the show. If you look at the West Ham team, there are lots of players in there that are really driven. You know, you've got the quality and the consistency of Fernandes in midfield. Bowen never gives you less than 8, 9 out of 10. The new players that have come in really look as though they've embraced the pressure of playing for West Ham and being in a relegation fight. Disasi looks as though he's found his level.
He's done really well.
He's done so much better in a West Ham shirt. And he's made Mavropanos next to him better. Hermanson,
he's playing out of his skin.
Exactly. Mavropanos is putting his body on the line. He is cutting out the mistakes that were leading to goals for a long time. I hadn't been a fan, but in the last few weeks, he's really turned up.
What's strange about it as well is that, I mean, I think we've done 1 or 2 games at West Ham the year this season where they've been woeful. And there was one point in the season where they looked done. No legs, no energy, no confidence. And it's amazing, isn't it, how with a bit of time and a couple of new little players, and I know he came in late, Nuno, or reasonably late, you see a side now who are fighting for every point. You've got some energy about them, got a goal threat, And you wouldn't have said that when we were watching them get banged.
No.
Well, I've always been of the opinion that
Brentford, yeah,
they needed better. They needed an injection of quality, because I think it was the game where they led Chelsea and then lost. That lots of people felt that was it, but the window hadn't opened yet, and it was once they were able to go in and do a little bit of business that they were able to get that injection.
Leeds are still in trouble and all.
Yeah,
Leeds are still
points-wise, they're not out of it at all.
I've done my points tally. It's all done. Yeah, we
Who's
know
going
who's
down?
going down. Well, West Ham are going to get 10 points out of their last 7 games. Spurs are getting 9. Leeds are getting 8. And Forest are getting 8.
Spurs are getting 9.
So is that Spurs going down? My maths isn't good.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, is it 1 point?
Have you done it without knowing it?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've done it. Sorry, let's do it again.
West Ham are getting how many?
Sorry, I'll do it again. West Ham 10.
They're on 39.
Spurs 8.
38.
Leeds 8.
41.
Forest 8.
40. Spurs are going down.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Your old club's going down.
I don't want them to. I really don't. Because there's some great people I'm still friends with there.
Great story.
It's not a great story.
How is it not
It is
a great
story.
What kind of journalist are you?
It might be an upsetting story.
Yeah.
You don't even support Spurs. What the hell's
I
wrong
know,
with
I
you?
know, but I just don't. I've got a lot of friends who are Spurs fans,
Oh,
and
no.
I know.
Poor old Darren's friends. Oh, no. Go and give him a hug. I nearly swore then.
Who would you rather go down instead of them?
I don't rather anybody.
You've got to
want
choose
somebody
someone.
else, yeah. Oh, Forest, they don't belong.
Would you be less upset if West Ham went down?
It's not so much upset. I just, for any club that goes down, as we all know, and everyone listening,
Come on.
it's not just about the players. It's about the jobs that go. It's
forget
about
that. I'm on about from a football
Somebody's got to
perspective.
go down. What do you want? No relegation?
Well, look,
What do you want to be US?
Well, I've said before. I've said before. If you look at those bottom 3 teams, there are fighters in the other teams, and there are not enough of them in the Tottenham team.
I'll choose. I think not, and it's not based on any players, managers, or people I know. My experience of going to all these 4 stadiums and enjoying football, West Ham to go.
Okay, but what we've got is you cannot deny Spurs going down is a fantastic story.
It is, yeah.
Spurs fans might
Sad
not
story.
like it. Darren Lewis's friends might need a big hug, but it's going to be a fantastic story if it happens. This is talkSPORT.
Let's hear from Leo Senior following Saturday's 3-0 loss at Everton. Really poor performance from Chelsea at the weekend.
Yeah, it's been a tough week. These players, some of them, this isn't an excuse. This is a reality for some of these players have played already the most games in a season they've played in their career. Up to this point. What I need to do and what I need to do better is make better decisions in terms of team selection, how we freshen the team up, how we rotate the team to make sure that we're competitive in these games. I think having the international break now has probably come at the perfect time for us to regather, restock. And also we have some clear weeks in the weeks to come where we can actually get on the training pitch for the first time and work with these players in what we want.
Right, accept the bit at the end, right? I think that's important.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
training
fine
pitch.
ground, yeah.
But I ain't having that, you know, it's more than some of these games these players have played and all that stuff. Come on, that's not what the Chelsea fans want to hear. We're talking about a level of performance here. The level of performance the last few games has been extremely poor. First thing you've got to say, and we've not done enough of it today, we've got to say brilliant Everton, brilliant Sunderland, all those kind of things. But we're looking at Chelsea at this moment in time. No, that performance at the weekend and those performances and the defeat against PSG hasn't got anything to do with players having too many games.
No, that's ridiculous. This is an excuse that I can hear. Honestly.
You can't feel tired.
Paris Saint-Germain has played the same amount of games. Look what they're doing. But you cannot compare Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea because they are different level. But when a manager tries to find out...
Monday night kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm Adrian Durham, Darren Lewis, who's never watched a full episode of Only Fools and Horses.
Or Fawlty Towers.
Or Fawlty Towers. I think there's only 13 episodes ever of Fawlty Towers, and you've not seen one of them. Honestly.
Friends?
Friends?
Yeah.
I thought you'd have seen Friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Friends. I think I've watched all of it.
That says to me you don't know where the TV remote is in your house.
I don't watch a lot of TV.
What about Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Is that a general bit of advice? Or?
I don't think he needs that advice. He's not even excited about Spurs going, that's not a story. I work for the Mirror, that's not a story. Oh dear. Shall we move on? Before we get into the Newcastle inquest and having a look at how good Sunderland were, let's hear from talkSPORT presenter, Newcastle fan, Ollie Klink. He's given us his thoughts on yesterday's defeat and what Newcastle need to do to improve.
Well, I'm still simmering down after what was a disgraceful performance. Newcastle nowhere near good enough in the Tyne-Wear derby, especially in the second half. No grit, no determination, and Sunderland deserved to win the game. And to lose twice to Sunderland this season is not good enough by any stretch. But even if you park it as a derby, the manner of the performance is something we've seen throughout this season. Brentford home and away, Everton at home, Arsenal at home, West Ham away. I could go on, dropping off in intensity and sitting deep, especially after taking the lead. We've dropped 22 points from winning positions this season. 22. That is abysmal. And for me, it stinks of a massive psychological issue and tactical problems as well. We're 16th in the second half only table, which I think sums a lot of things up. And you can blame fatigue from their European campaign and the fact they've played more games than any other team in Europe's top 5 leagues. That's fine. But if Newcastle United want to be the top club in the world by 2030, not my words, by the way, the words of CEO David Hopkinson, they need to build a squad and have a manager who can cope with that kind of season. In terms of the manager, I love Eddie Howe for what he's achieved at the club, but this result felt quite significant. Newcastle had to win that derby, and they've contrived to lose it in the last minute. And I feel that however they finish this season, it will be difficult for Howe to win some fans back after a result like that. We have to reflect on the summer. Obviously, it was a disaster. Most of the incomings, the likes of Elanga, Wissa, Voltemada, Ramsdale, for me, have all underperformed, but I think Voltemada is a good example of poor decision-making from Eddie Howe. He's been playing a centre-forward as a number 8 recently and not getting the best out of a clearly talented player because of his unwillingness to adapt. And when you look at the outgoings, of course, losing Alexander Isak was a huge blow. They missed out on so many top targets, partially because of PSR, but partially because of mismanagement at board level, and it's totally derailed our season. For me, though, that can't just be used as an excuse.
That's Ollie Klink. He's got another episode of the Newcastle podcast. You can check it out on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Inside the Tune. Just 1 second. And there's a new one. They're doing a special one tomorrow. So that'll be dropping sometime tomorrow. It's available on the talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcasts, or check out talkSPORT YouTube. Sorry.
I think you missed a trick there because you should have played that sad music underneath him.
Or the crying baby music.
Crying baby.
Yeah. It wasn't me. It's not down to me. Ollie's listening. It's not down to me. I agree with the sentiment. Yeah, the baby. There you go. He said in that he's not impressed with the owners' lack of investment. He's also said he's not impressed with Eddie Howe. Says he's lost some fans with the 2 defeats to Sunderland. There's an unwillingness to adapt with Eddie Howe. And just scrolling through social media, listening to a few loud Newcastle fans loud, not in a bad way, but those who have got voices and they go to games, they are unimpressed with Eddie Howe. I wouldn't say they're all universally we want Eddie Howe to go, because they respect the fact that he's won them a cup and he's changed the history of the football club. He's got that legacy and that's intact, but they are wondering if they're advancing with Eddie Howe. So I don't think this is a situation where you can just say, oh, it's down to the owners, or just say it's down to Eddie Howe. There's problems with both, but in terms of Eddie Howe himself, that's a big problem, Danny, losing both games to Sunderland, isn't it?
No. If they were sat in fourth, no. It's a bigger issue, which is... Well, look, they've had Champions League football twice in the last 3 seasons and won a trophy. Mm-hmm. So overall, you've got to be happy with that. And I think most Newcastle fans, if you told them that 3 years ago, they'd bite your hand off. And so Eddie deserves great credit for that. Eddie, I'm a big fan of. I think he's the best manager at dealing with the press in the Premier League. Doesn't mean that means he's a great coach, but I like that aspect of him. Now, there is clear evidence to suggest that this squad has digressed from last season, because they finished, 4th, 5th last year, got in the Champions League, won a cup, and the signings they've brought in haven't been good enough. Now, we can look at who's to blame for that. I actually like Wissel. I think Wissel will do better than they think he will if he gets good run of games and gets himself fit. But the signings have let them down. Hence the fact you're playing games against Barcelona or even Sunderland with a winger playing up top.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help the cause.
But that is down to Eddie Howe.
He
insists on playing Gordon centrally when he's got Voltemade.
Yeah, that is down to him.
He's a striker.
And I don't agree with it. But anyway, the bigger issue for me, and the one where you can give Eddie a little bit of criticism, is when you talk, if I asked you two or anybody when you see Newcastle play well, what's their strength? Now, their strength is generally a real tenacious, pressing, high energy, come after you, make you uncomfortable style, which I really like. Now, they do it so well early in games, and I've been to loads of Newcastle games and watched them loads with the job I do. And so many times they start games really well, put the fear of God into teams, especially up there. And obviously, if they do it really well, then they get enough of a cushion to go on and win games. Now, there are exceptions to that rule where Leeds, they came back late and got a win after not playing very well. But generally, with that style, and why you see Arsenal not do it all the time, and Arsenal a bit more controlled and defensive, and some people don't like it, and Slots Liverpool last year, a bit more composed, a bit more structured, a bit more defensive, is because playing that way for 90 minutes in the Premier League, whilst trying to have a Champions League campaign, unless you've got the most amazing squad full of athletes, it's very, very difficult to do. And I think they get found out too often when they have to then become adaptable and play a way they're not as comfortable playing. Strategically, tactically, they're not, I wouldn't say Newcastle are that cute a team, they're not that clever compared to the best ones. But if you go against them, high energy, fight, you'll come off second a lot of the time for a majority part of the game. Because they've got Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno, and Anthony Gordon with his pressing, Elanga can press with his pace. You've got big lads at the back. You've got when Hall and Livramento are both fit together, flying fullbacks. They are a great watch, and they've got some really good, talented players. But when the game settles, especially if you've played in midweek away in Spain or France or wherever they've been, and then they play against a Brentford or a Tottenham, whoever it, maybe not Tottenham, but a Premier League side has got a bit about them and have had a week's rest. As the game opens up, they get found out, and that's why they're 16th in the second half table. Now, where does the responsibility lie for that? Ultimately, it is the coach, because if you see the pattern often enough, it's like, okay, maybe we can't start this game 100 miles an hour and go and press them, even though the fans wanted to, and even though we should beat Brentford at home. I use Brentford flippantly, it could be anyone else, but you sometimes don't have to. I think one of the strengths I found under Houllier is that he never got above our station with just because we were Liverpool. We would give everyone respect and sometimes go slow into games and really be hard to beat. Rely on a bit of magic maybe from Owen or Fowler or Stevie or whatever, but we wouldn't. Sometimes we think we're not, we'll be compact, we'll ease our way into games. And then I quite liked that because you feel like you're always in it. You're not gung-go. You can be 2 up after 20, or sometimes it's 2-2 or 1-0 down, and it's a difficult way to play. It's chaos. It's chaotic. And I always watch Newcastle play at home and think, this is great to watch early on, but it is chaotic. And it settles down and then the other team get into it. And so I think that's the biggest problem Newcastle have in correlation with the underwhelming impact of their signings.
Okay. Darren, very quickly, on Newcastle.
You can't follow
Is it Eddie Howe's
can't
fault?
follow that.
That was terrific.
Should we just leave it there? I mean, as monologues go, I'm impressed with that because it actually explained a lot to me. And by the way, very quickly, whoever wins the title is the Sunderland manager, the manager of the year.
No.
They've stayed up easily.
I think Keith Andrews would be if they finish. Keith Andrews, right? You look at Brentford. Everybody has tipped Brentford to go down.
Mate, a third of the Premier League's going to finish in Europe.
No. But the circumstances of, I think, possibly even if they don't finish in Europe.
5 teams could get in the Champions League.
No.
Brentford finished 5th. That would be an argument.
And do you know, I did a Fiery Fridays podcast, talkSPORT Daily podcast last week, saying if you've never won a major honour, you shouldn't be allowed in the Champions League.
Is it Labrie or Labris?
Labris.
He gets it for
and that's
me.
Brentford, who've never.
Hang on a minute.
won a major honour.
You think a guy whose club spent £150 million to help them to get up, whereas a guy who has his team, his club, in the top, what is it, 7, 8 at the moment, having lost his manager, 2 of his best players, other coaching staff as well, 3 of his best players. Exactly. So all of his goals, kept the team motivated, nurtured the striker who'd spent most of the last season on the sidelines, got him into the side, got him firing. I think he's the second most prolific striker in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. The job he has done in making his stadium one of the toughest places to go in the Premier League, and you guys think it should go to the guy who's had £150 million to spend.
Yeah, because, and you're right, he deserves all loads of plaudits. He's done an amazing job. There's absolutely no question about that, and conducted himself very well. But 85% of that squad he inherited had Premier League experience and was already settled in the Prem.
Come on, Dan. No. I'm going to take you guys on. I'm going to take you guys on.
Let me just finish that sentence. If you compare it to Sunderland, which is what we're doing, of all the players who came into Sunderland, I think I'm right in saying Xhaka was the only one who'd had Premier League experience. Of all the ones that come up, none of them. One player in a squad who's had Premier League experience and to stay up, unbelievable.
All right, so let me counter that by saying...
And they came up via the playoffs.
All of you, and everyone listening, you're driving around at home, whatever, you will have seen in football history teams where loads of players, they get bought by bigger clubs. Staff leave, morale goes down, everyone tips you to go down. We tip them to go down. It looks for all the world as though they are bereft of cutting edge on the pitch in the team, leadership in the team.
They brought in Henderson for leadership.
Yeah, no, but that was a decision by the club, and obviously he's made that work.
And Ouattara had scored at Bournemouth, he's replacing.
I'm not being, and Ouattara cost a lot of money. Nobody's decrying.
You are. If you give it to a guy who spent £150 million, I'm sorry that you guys are just driven by money, and you do. I take the point about no experience, but Brentford were a shell.
Well, they weren't really, were they?
Well, they were actually.
Premier League.
They were.
That lost
who did you tip to go down? Who did you tip to go down?
Yeah, a lot of people tipped Brentford to go down.
There you go.
And he's done very well, but not as well as the Sunderland manager.
What, the Sunderland manager spent £150 million?
What's wrong with spending money? You got to.
Well, they sold about 40.
They're in League One about 3 seasons ago.
£150 million.
Kick off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Put him right, people. 18+, gambleaware.org.
here's an interesting one. We're going to start with Arsenal and Bukayo Saka, right? Now, I have said for weeks, I love Bukayo Saka.
Me too.
Right? I do.
Me too.
However, I think the form has dipped a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe.
Did you hear what Pierce was saying? He's tired. Tired of what? He's been injured so many times. You know, he had a proper preseason preparation, a vacation. So I don't know what happened. Is it because of the new players came into the team that has been challenging?
Is he missing Odegaard a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you what I think it is. I just think it's a drop in form, right? I think it's
can happen.
It can happen.
Yeah, I just think I don't know whether it's a confidence.
What would
thing.
you do, Ali, if you're?
I'd have played Managerial.
Yeah, if you're manager, would you leave him out for a few games?
I maybe would.
Put the arm around him and say, look, you
super sub.
I maybe would, because I think you've got to pick the strongest team. We can argue about the goalkeeping position, but I think at this moment in time, now you two guys know far more about the Arsenal I'll ever know. I think Madueke deserves a starting position more than most in that particular position. I think, and I'll go even over the other side, I think Madueke will give you more on that side than perhaps Trossard. I don't know about Mark.
Kick off on talkSPORT. Adrian, Durham, Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis. Sorry, just think about manager of the season. Let's move on. Bournemouth 2, Man United 2. See the VAR. VAR's working really well. It's fantastic. Love it. Absolutely brilliant.
It is amazing.
I mean, what? When's this nonsense going to end? When is Howard Webb? And we do briefings with Howard Webb where I'm not even allowed to. Well, actually, you're told, this isn't for broadcast. This is for briefing, for knowledge, for information, how it goes and how it works, etc. And yet I've heard commentators briefing positively or commentating positively about those briefings. And I'm thinking to myself, hang on a minute, are some of these Because I look at VAR every single week and I wonder why we've bothered. And after, I think Alan Shearer said yes on Saturday, I think it was, after what, how long's it been? And he said 4 or 5 years. This is 7 years now. 7 years. And it's still a mess and they're still tweaking the rules to try to make VAR work. And on Friday night, Bournemouth 2, Man United 2, as we saw, Stuart Atwell right on the spot. How he cannot give that penalty, I do not know. Then goes up the other end and gives the penalty, and it absolutely right, was a red card. But because at the other end they scored straight after the Man United penalty wasn't given, do we all agree that that was VAR, Stockley Park, just basically bricking it, thinking we can't deny Bournemouth a goal and go back and give a penalty? Because I've seen this in rugby league where there's been an incident on the try line, no try has been given, gone right up the other end and scored, and they've had to take it back and award the try at the other end or award a penalty at the other end. That is a big problem for football, and they're going to have to get used to it. If they want to have faith in it, they've got to get used to it. So where do we stand on what happened with the referee on pitch and VAR?
I've never been a fan of VAR. Goal line technology, yes, no problem with that. But the VAR has been just implemented so badly, and it's just taking another layer of indifferent decision making into a booth.
Yeah,
and
totally agree.
My problem is now those 3 words, the most terrifying and controversial in the Premier League, are checked and cleared, because there are so many cases where checked and cleared leaves you wondering whether the people checking and clearing it have seen the same things as we've seen on the pitch. And it's hard. I don't want to sort of... I remember when we used to do this show and you were very, very strong on not wanting to talk about referees, and I really respected that, because you felt very strongly that it's not fair to sort of hang specific referees out to dry. But it's a technology that's not being used properly.
What about this Friday one, though? What do you make of that?
Well, I listen, I think Adrian summed it up correctly.
See, I'm all right with it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Did you not think it was a pen?
I think it was one of them. You get them sometimes you don't. I think when it wasn't given, see, I've got to the point with it where the high bar for me is key. And if the high bar remains really high, then you're going to get some that are wrong. But I can live with that because that's the lesser of two evils. When I say the high bar, I'm talking about a real high bar for the VAR to intervene, where, you know, it's a blatantly bad, awful decision. Now, we don't know. You can see his angle, and, you know, our players don't help themselves how often they go down when they get a hand on them and there's not enough contact. So this doesn't help the refs. Let's get that straight. So when it goes down with a hand on him or a little push in the box, if it was like me, I'd want a pen. I mean, it looks like a pen. There's no, you know, I'm not saying it wasn't a pen, but I can understand why a ref in that moment might get it wrong. So the play goes on, and it goes down the other end, and bad luck doesn't always happen. Happens rarely. Then straight away goes down the other end, and what happens happens.
Scored a goal, yeah.
Yeah. So if we just go on the high bar argument, it's like the Maguire one, isn't it? He gives the pen, so he's got to send him off because it's denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I think if he hadn't given the pen, I'm not sure they'd turn it over. And I'm all right with that as well, because we've got to find a way of... we're never going to get perfection, so what are we going to accept? And I think the problem is we've had spells in the... and we work in it, so we see it all the time, and we've had some really good spells with VAR and refs where we haven't had too many, and the bar's been kept really high, and you think, great, no problem. They've missed one, but okay. Even if you missed, you think it is a pen. Diallo, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it, probably looking back, he probably thinks it's a pen, the ref. But he probably didn't. He probably thinks, has he gone over a bit easy there? I'm sick of seeing players go over. Do you know what? No, carry on. And then VAR look at it and say, do you know what? Is it that?
What you said makes perfect sense, right?
So that's it for me on it.
But
this deep dive into... I agree with all what you said about VAR, and I hate it. I always have. But now we've got to accept it because it's here. I just think to myself, the only way I can think of accepting it is if we keep this bar really, really high, and we also get rid of the silliness on set plays, which we can do quite easily by having the ball in play when it's static on the quadrant for corners. That will help that massively. But if we keep the bar really high and accept that sometimes, although we think it's a pen, it's not given, that would help everyone.
The problem with your high bar is that sometimes VAR gets involved when it doesn't need to.
That's the
and
point,
that shreds the whole concept of high bar.
Exactly.
That's absolutely correct.
Exactly that.
Yeah, you're right. These two are big Liverpool fans, so we'll talk about them next on the show. Just into us here at talkSPORT. Harvey Barnes, we know, is in Thomas Tuchel's England squad. In the last few moments, also called up, Arsenal's Ben White has been called back into the England squad, and he is included in this squad by Thomas Tuchel. Ben White's last involvement with England, as we know, was back at the World Cup in 2022. And on that occasion, Martin, Simon, you'll recall, he left camp early after a reported fallout between him and whoever else. But Ben White gets his chance. Featured yesterday, of course, at Wembley, and he's been called up by Thomas Tuchel. Guys, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it was interesting when Harvey Barnes was almost going to commit to play for Scotland. I believe, Jim, you'll know more about that. Ben White fell out, I believe, with Steve Holland. Well-known argument that they had where I think he was being accused of not taking enough interest when he wasn't in the team. So, you know, he's a good player. So I expect to see him when there's a problem. It's good to see that he's back involved again.
Yeah. Some people had the view at the time, Simon, if you turn your back on your country, that should be it for you.
I think I was in that camp. I think I was in the camp of we can't all be told what we want to hear. We have to sometimes accept people have different views, and you have to, when you're playing for your country, it's an honour.
Who would have thought a sporting event's halftime show could have a bigger impact than the game itself? Well, the Super Bowl halftime show does exactly that. In 2024, Usher brought in an audience of 180 million worldwide, the biggest ever in the event's history. But how did singing and dancing get to be the centrepiece of America's biggest sporting event? The first edition of the Super Bowl was held in 1967 when the Green Bay Packers beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Los Angeles. Because of the sheer size of the event, organisers wanted to put on entertainment at halftime for the fans in the stadium. It was a display of marching bands, dancers and pure USA patriotism, and that was the theme that followed for years. In the 1980s, the Walt Disney Company got involved and we started seeing some interesting and questionable displays. But we got our first glimpse of halftime shows to come in '93 when none other than Michael Jackson stunned fans with his 15-minute medley of his own smash hits. When he walked out on stage, he had to wait for the crowd's cheers to die down for about 2 minutes before even starting his first song. Diana Ross, Gloria Estefan, Phil Collins all starred in their own shows, as did Aerosmith, who performed alongside NSYNC. Things got a little bit out of hand in 2004 when Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson produced perhaps the most famous or infamous wardrobe malfunction in history. Shows from the likes of Prince, Lady Gaga and Beyoncé are considered by critics as the best. To give you an idea of the scale of things, Rihanna's 2023 halftime show included roughly 800 people. These ranged from backing dancers to stage crew to camera operatives broadcasting to millions around the world. The whole stage for that show was built in roughly 8 minutes and was broken down and cleared away in the same time. The acts perform for free nowadays, even though the experts reckon it costs around $13 million to put on Rihanna's show. Artists know they'll rocket up the charts in the following weeks. Rihanna's average sales improved by 140% in the months following her performance. The Super Bowl halftime show will be a fixture in pop culture for years to come. So the question is, who next?
Kick-off on talkSPORT. I'm Adrian Durham. Former England midfielder Danny Murphy is with us for this show through till 10. Darren Lewis, one of the country's finest writers, who's not got any TV culture whatsoever, is also with us through till 10. We're going to talk about Chelsea very shortly and Ben White back for England, which I find unacceptable, really, to be honest with you. I just find it totally...
Oh, no, I understand your sentiment completely. Yeah.
We'll get into that at 9:30, but need to talk about Liverpool, who lost for the 10th time this season. And I'm going to ask this broad question. Is this the most embarrassing title defence we've seen since, Leicester, maybe? I don't know. After the defeat to Brighton, Arne Slot gave his thoughts on the result.
If it was so much of a dip in level, I think in the first half we played quite well, especially in the beginning of the game. If then I would agree with you that there was a dip in level, I would tell you that we missed out on one of the best strikers the Premier League has seen in the last 3 or 4 years, Alexander Isak, throughout the whole season. And we missed out on one of the best goal scorers the league has seen in the last 8 years, Mo Salah. And then after 2 minutes, I have to take off Hugo Ekitike, who's had a lot of impact this season. And I'm looking at the bench. And I had to adjust again. So playing Florian Wirtz in that position who's also a great player, by the way, but he's not a one that makes a lot of runs in behind or attacks the box. He's more of a creator than someone to finish it. So that is then probably not helpful if you want to compare us with the game during the week, and you cannot compare Galatasaray with Brighton. Brighton had a week to prepare. Galatasaray only 2 or 3 days. Brighton is a very well managed team with some great individuals. So yeah, I can go on with a few other reasons why we were better on Wednesday than we were today, but maybe this is enough.
He doesn't help himself, does he? He's talking about how it's so hard when you're in the Champions League and the Premier League. Don't take over at Liverpool then. If you can't handle the games, because that's what you're going to be expected to do. You're going to be expected to fight through to the end, deep in competitions, 4 cup competitions, Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup. You're expected to go deep in those competitions.
I think
if you can't handle it, don't bother.
I think that's kind of secondary to the point anyway. So, because he was talking there about Noah Katike went off injured, Isak and Salah not there. Fine. So the creativity levels and ability to score goals drops. Fine, no problem. But the energy levels second half, the organisation, the defensive mistakes, the lack of pragmatism to stay in the game, to do things right, all those things are prevalent. And also the Ekitike-Salah debate, they've been there most of the season. In the other 9 games they lost, they've probably played in 7 of them, let's say. I don't
That's
know.
a great point, yeah.
So in isolation, if you lost at Brighton with those problems, while you're sitting in 3rd or 2nd or 5 points off the top, or even 10 points off the top, you'd say fair enough. But it's no excuse now. It's not something that the fans would accept, because even if you don't have those players on, well, shore up the midfield and see out the draw. It's 1-1 at half time. You know, you scored a goal without Ekitike and Isak and Salah. If you know you're struggling to create, well, make yourselves hard to beat. They could have lost by 5. Brighton were the ones who looked like scoring for the whole end of the last 20 minutes. It wasn't Liverpool putting them under pressure. The bigger problem Liverpool have there's lots of problems Liverpool have got. I think the most obvious one, which we've talked about before, and I think is becoming more worrying as the weeks go by, is the lack of energy and tenacity and legs and fight in the team. It just looks a little bit like just playing like we're doing our best. I don't think they're deliberately not trying. Whether it's a physical thing or a mental thing. But sorry, guys, one sec. Let me just finish this. I think obviously the new signings haven't helped. Ekitike has been the only one, and Wirtz has started to show a bit, but not enough. The bigger problem for me has been, and this is why Slot is getting a lot of stick for different reasons, but one of the main reasons I think is that, and this is his job to motivate as well, so he is partly to blame for this, but the players who did so well for him last year, my feeling is I would say there's only 2 who've come close or exceeded what they did last year. And that would be obviously Szoboszlai, and probably Gravenberch has been similar most of the time, with the odd bad game here and there. But generally, he's been pretty solid, pretty good. Everyone else has dropped off. Now, as you were talking about earlier, which was a great point, players have to take some responsibility down to you. But also, if the coach sees that and isn't able to change it, that's on him. So there's loads of things wrong, and we talked about it earlier, the formation, the tactics. He set the team up completely different than the previous week. I don't know what, I didn't see the benefit. I was trying to look at why he changed that, the 2 split strikers, the 3 in behind, Gravenberch sitting on his own. Didn't see it, couldn't see what that was achieving, and maybe the Ekitike injury didn't help the system. But he didn't change it. So the fan base, for the first time in a long, long time, has turned. And I was saying this the other day, and this final point on it, sorry, Daz, the final point is that as a Liverpool supporter growing up and a player there, I can't think of a time where a manager has lost the fan base and turned it round. I just don't remember it happening. Because the Liverpool fans are good at it. They don't tend to turn. But when they do, I've never seen anyone get it back. So it feels a little like it's inevitable what's coming. Now,
Are you surprised they've turned, bearing in mind they did win the title last season?
A little bit. But when you see the performances, which we do now because we watch all the games, the drop-off is huge. And it doesn't look like getting better. I mean, the way Liverpool play in the second half of games is really worrying. It's not like they start games pretty well generally, but the second half drop-offs has been so regular for a team that's got an abundance of talent. I mean, and quality player, experienced players. They don't look like they've got any chance finishing the top 5 the way they're playing. But look, football's crazy, isn't it? I remember the year they won it in 2005. They struggled like mad in the league and just produced these performances in Europe. Could they go and win it? I don't think so. Let's be honest.
Well, actually, I was only interrupting to ask Danny a question.
Okay.
Because with 3 of us, we did this show last summer. And obviously it was a very traumatic time. We've talked all about what happened last summer, not just with the loss of Jota, but also what happened in the parade as well, which lots of people don't speak about enough. And I remember you explaining that they put their pre-season on hold because there were much more important things to focus on.
That could be.
And what I was going to ask is, because I certainly think so, but I'd rather defer to you in terms of the impact that almost no pre-season or a very truncated pre-season will have on them, but also mixed with that, and this probably isn't one that you can answer, the emotional impact of what has happened, because we all expect them to fulfill their sporting commitments, and if they don't, why haven't they? And as rightly happens in football, positions get questioned, managers get questioned. But you just made the point, they won the league last season. This is a squad, if anything, it's been made better since they won the league. So how much do you still think last summer? I know I think, but I'd be interested to hear what you
I think it's impossible to know the emotional aspect and impact for some of the players who were really close to Jota. I think that's very hard to gauge. I think it would be fair to say that definitely some of them have been affected by that. That would be fair. I think the bigger problem would be more the players who have fallen into the old trap of thinking they're better than they are and getting in a comfort zone. And the comfort zone is a place where you kind of feel like you've made it a bit and you just turn up. You don't think you're doing it. I got bombed from the team by Julio for doing it once and argued with him till I was blue in the face, but he's probably right when I look back. And I think too many of them started believing their own hype a little bit. And it got masked, if you remember, early in the season because they kept winning games late, didn't they? I think they won their first 6.
It was the start of the season.
So it was like, well, they're not playing well, but they're still winning. So imagine what they're going to be like when they play well.
But could that have been adrenaline? Because I think Quiver Kelleher at the start of February, Kelleher has said, I think Brentford had played Liverpool or were due to play Liverpool. And he said, I'm surprised they're anywhere near the top 4, given what they've been through, given what I know of what's gone on in that dressing room.
Yeah.
Well, Darren, that's why I want to ask you. You say you've got your own views. I want to hear what your views are.
Sure.
On that situation.
Well, I do think that we can never know the impact of what's happened. And I think about the players, and listen, clearly some players have gone, but there are still some players there who were friends with a guy whose seat number, whose peg is being left vacant, and whose seat on the bus has not, been left vacant, and his place at the canteen as well, similar.
And the fans are respectfully remembering
match.
Every 20 minutes, every game, it's
100%.
And I'm not having to go at the fans for that. I totally understand why they're doing that.
But I think to try and, because you can't not play the season, you have to go through with what all of your sporting commitments are, and you have to put your game head on and whatever else. But if you're interrupting the period of time devoted to preparing for what is a grueling season, eventually it catches up with you.
Well, 4 or 5 of them missed pre-season anyway.
There you
Relevant
go.
of that. But the other thing as well.
Can I just make this very quick point before you? As we all know, if you join a club that is flying, then obviously you walk into a dressing room that is buzzing, that is motivated, that can't wait for the new season to get going, and it's infectious. If you walk into a dressing room that has just had the most traumatic 2-3 months, and you're all excited to be at Liverpool Football Club, but you're thinking, goodness me, how do I read this room? What do I do? How do I connect? That must be hard. Now, the sheer quality could be what allowed them to win those initial 6 games. But beyond that, when the drop-off started coming, they still did pick up because there is quality in that dressing room. So they were able to win games and stay competitive, and they have got to the latter stages of the Champions League. But I think underpinning everything at that football club is a deep trauma that we in sport don't think about enough. We are all about, I'm all about football, you're all about football, our listeners are all about football, and we don't, and lots of people say, oh, I'm not having that, oh, you can't blame that, or whatever else.
I think it's a balance. There's a bit in, but I think it's a good point, and I think it's a factor for certain individuals more than others, for sure. But if you think of it purely from a footballing perspective as well, I talked about the comfort zone, talked about some players just getting a bit, I'm the man. The other thing is, if you look at the team that won the league, regular players in that 11, Trent, Robbo, Diaz and Jota, the players who've been playing instead of those 4 aren't the same quality. Robbo's form of last season, Kirkez isn't as good as. Frimpong's not as good as Trent. Gakpo's not as good as Diaz. Who's playing now? Gakpo's now playing every week instead of being in and out last season, coming in and being impactful and scoring goals. And Jota's reliability, and the other thing with Jota and Diaz that people forget if you remember watching them playing, you only have to go online to watch some games. They are relentless with the press. Jota's a workaholic. Diaz is probably as good a presser as probably since I've seen Mane. Probably him and Mane were the 2 best I've seen, and he replaced him. So there's loads of things, and I'm not dismissive of the point. I think it's a good point, but you can't let that overshadow the other stuff.
Some really good points made. Appreciate it. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Hello, Barry. Good morning.
Okay?
Yeah. Go for it, Baz.
I just want to say, every Monday mid-morning, we have to listen to Martin going on and on and on. It just becomes too much, and it's making me want Man City to win because he's just moaning all the time.
Don't put it on me, fella. Don't put it on me, Barry. So all those times when we denied you winning those 3 Premier Leagues back in the day with Ferguson, was that got something to do with it? Yeah, the fact that Man United players, the former players, have all got it against Arsenal. You Man United fans. If you could pick a team without me involved, don't involve me. Just say which is the team you despise the most in the Premier League. Come on, who is it?
We saw what a coward you were when
it's got that big now.
When you were managing,
it's got that big now that you even want your local rivals to win ahead of us. Well done to you. Well done. Look what happened to our local rivals.
To be honest, our main rivals,
Spurs. Start having your own things to go after as a football club. Don't just bash us. When was the day? When was the day Man United wanted to be champions? Will we see that again soon?
What's your results? Yeah, you will see that again, Mark.
Well, because you've got 1 game a week at the moment, haven't you? It's easy for you, isn't it?
Barry, the floor is yours.
Kickoff on talkSPORT. If you've made the mistake of watching University Challenge instead of listening to this show, I know why you've switched on to us, okay? Because University Challenge just had a question in it, and the guy answering, I kid you not, was a rocket scientist.
Right.
Okay. The question was, Tranmere Rovers. No, the question was this, right? Which football? I've just given you the answer. Which football club is in the metropolitan borough of Wirral? And we know it is Tranmere Rovers. The guy answered Brentford. Brentford on the Wirral.
I suppose all you can say today is we've all got our strengths.
Here's his rocket science.
Yeah. You have a
Not
job
local
in
job.
PR. I've changed.
So thanks for leaving University Challenge, coming to talkSPORT. You've missed quite a bit already, but you haven't missed the Ben White analysis at 9:30, which I'm really looking forward to. Chelsea lost at Everton 3-0. We've already talked about the brilliant goal that Everton scored, Garner's pass, Beto's finish, which was my magic moment of the weekend. But let's have a look at Chelsea and just how bad they were. Let's hear what Liam Rossini had to say after the defeat.
The most disappointing evening so far, in terms of the things we've spoken about, not gifting goals away, making sure we're in the game, getting control of the game. It wasn't there. And it turned into a really, really difficult evening where the result and performance was nowhere near what we expected or wanted. When you look at a team that are 3-0 down, you're trying to press and get your way back into the game. And it looks like the distance has become really, really big. For me, I don't think there's a lack of effort. I don't think there's a lack of belief or determination in the team. I'm aware when you're on a run of defeats that we're on and when you're on a run of performances that we've had, those things get levelled at you, but I don't think that's the issue in this moment. What I don't want to do, I don't want to be seen to make excuses that was not good enough.
I find it upsetting. Liam Rossini is a young English coach. He's got an opportunity at a big club, and I feel like he's blowing this massive opportunity big time. I feel like he's going to miss out on the chance of a lifetime, and it's because things are going wrong, and there's various things beyond his control you could look at. How the project at the football club, I get all of that, but he's got some really good players who really shouldn't be as bad or performing as badly as they are at the moment. So I find it quite upsetting because I want a young English coach to succeed. But Darren Lewis, what are you thinking?
I think Chelsea are being failed by their business model rather than Liam Rossini, and he is out there taking the bullets for an ownership that are really all about bringing in players in, flipping them and selling them for big money. If Chelsea were serious about wanting to achieve things, they'd have brought in the leadership that would take them through these difficult moments that they're going through at the moment, so that they would have leaders on the pitch and the spotlight and the can wouldn't be carried by a Liam Rossini or even a Enzo Maresca before him.
Can I just challenge you on something
Sure.
there? And it's a lot of people say this is what their business model is, and it's hard to argue with it. And I think they've said it themselves. But when you sign Enzo Fernandez for 100 million and Caicedo for a bit more than 100 million pounds, exactly how much are they expecting to get back on those two?
Yeah, that's a great point. They're not.
Listen, when you bring players into a football club, right, and those players, and actually, I'm going to make a series of points all at the same time, so I'll just answer that specific one. No one's saying that they haven't made bad purchases, right? Cole Palmer's an outstanding bit of business. Fernandez had done well in a major tournament.
They're good signings.
They're good signings. But what you do is you supplement those good signings with experience. If you do that, then you have a voice on the pitch and in the dressing room that is able to steer the younger players. And remember, when Fernandez came, he was a lot younger.
You're right, but he's talking about the narrative of younger players. You're saying about players being brought in to then be sold for more. But if you're spending £100 million on players, you're not bringing them in to sell them.
No, you're not. But I'm saying not all of the players have been brought in to be flipped. Some players have been brought in at market value. But there are lots of players that have been brought in that are young.
Yeah.
That
so who are the flipping players?
Leadership. Well, I think if you look at who are the flipping players, I think if you look all across the back four, okay, you could argue that maybe Cucurella isn't one of them.
Their value's gone down.
Well, exactly. Their value's gone down because they've been so bad and they haven't addressed the actual specific issues. If you look at, well, let's take the two best teams in the country, City and Arsenal. One of the key things that Pep did was he tried to find a goalkeeper before he found Edison. If you look at the Arsenal, they signed a goalkeeper who is now the reserve goalkeeper, Ramsdale. and it gave him a long-term contract and brought in Raya, because Raya, they quickly found Raya was better. And they solved that problem. Liverpool, when they realised they had a problem at centre-half, they went out. Lots of people, I remember that season, people said, why? How can you lose all these games and not... There must be a better one than Van Dijk. But then Van Dijk came in and you realised why they brought him in, because he was a leader, an organiser, a fantastic voice in the bit. Who is Chelsea's commanding goalkeeper or central midfielder or central defender? I just don't see that leadership. So we are killing Rosenior, but when Rosenior goes, or if Rosenior goes, the next person who comes in will have the same problem. And what is Rosenior actually? And I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but we in football, we have this problem with a young, articulate guy who is able to express himself well. If anything, he's too accommodating. If I were him, I probably wouldn't be as deep with some of the answers as he's been.
Yeah, or as open. Yeah. Well, we had Andy Townsend on breakfast on Friday, and I said to him, what advice would you give Liam Rosenior? And he said, just...
Less is more.
Less is more. Keep it down.
Yeah,
you don't need to make that much noise. He doesn't need to talk about the huddle. Yeah. He doesn't, what was it? Respect the ball and all this.
No, there's been a few things where he's opened himself up.
Yeah.
But I think we should be judging him. That's going to happen, unfortunately, for a manager in the spotlight who's young and he's English. If we judge him on the football, there's been some positive stuff. And there's been a few eye-opening stuff. It's like, what's he thinking there? Or why has he gone that way? I suppose the argument is any manager coming into that Chelsea squad with the points Darren's just made is going to have some problems with leadership, with some, influential characters carrying that dressing room when the manager might not be getting it right. And the biggest indicator of Chelsea's problem is the ill discipline. I think it's 8 or 9 red cards, I think. Now some of them are unlucky, not all of them. And that's because the senior boys aren't on it. Now, Fernandes is getting more senior, and I think he's actually playing well. I think he's had a good season.
He's a World Cup winner and he's 25.
Yeah, and he's progressed since he's been there. I think he's become a really good player. Caicedo's always steady. The rest of them are a bit erratic. Cole Palmer is probably his biggest fan. I think he's going to be an unbelievable footballer, although this season's been a bit stop-start for him. Esteval looks a super talent. João Pedro, when he's at it, he looks another one who could get, like you say, flip Esteval, if that is the methodology. The reality is, I don't care who they bring in as manager, unless they address the lack of experience and quality leaders, they're not going to challenge to win the Champions League or the Premier League. They'll beat anybody on their day because they've got some terrific players. And some of the... I'm not saying all their defenders are bad players, by the way. Colwell's a cultured left foot. I know he's been injured, but I like him. He's a good player, but he's not... He needs to be alongside.
He's not John Terry.
He's not. And he's not.
They're a long way from Terry and Carvalho at the back, aren't they?
They haven't got one.
Yeah.
Thiago Silva was a great example of that. I know he was 38, 39, so he had to go, but I might be wrong on this, and I've said it before flippantly without actually checking it out. There's no side I remember winning the Premier League in my time who didn't have a handful of experienced players who were guiding the young ones. Because this
Leicester with Huth and Morgan.
Yeah.
There's proper experience.
Yeah, but this Vardy, in terms of his age and his leadership qualities,
the whole
this hasn't been done
thing
before.
Is misdirection. You're absolutely right, 100% right, and it's too easy. Dare I say, a little bit lazy to get stuck into a guy because his big crime is to be articulate and to be too accommodating. When there are structural failings with a Chelsea squad that is not built to gain to earn consistency.
They should have put someone with him with a bit more nerves in the staff.
That would have been fair. I remember Arthur Cox alongside Kevin Keegan.
Feels like it.
There are lots of examples with, even if you look at the people who are around some of the even more celebrated managers.
Steve Holland with Michael Carrick.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have had a problem with that.
Well, I remember even Houllier was brilliant at this stuff, taking his time with the press and stuff. But when Tomo or Sammy Lee, Liverpool people, if he wanted, sometimes they'd say to him, no, that's not.
And Liam needs that because I've heard him in press conferences say about Reece James, best player in the world in his position. And by the way, you might be right about these things, but I don't think it needs to be said in public. He said the same about Moises Caicedo, who he calls Moy, which again, I think a lot of fans are thinking, should you be calling him by his nickname in the press conference?
No, we had England managers calling Steven Gerrard Stevie G.
Yeah,
you know,
all managers with that.
All managers do.
Yeah, but in a press conference, I'm talking about. I'm not sure it's right that happens. And if you're saying that Caicedo is the best player in his position as well, hang on a minute. All of a sudden, two of your best players, you're saying they're the best in the world in their position. How come you've just lost 3-0?
Yeah, you're putting pressure on yourself.
Exactly.
I think the only time you could probably analyse every manager who's been through a bit of a wobble and a bad spell and look at some silly things they've said. He's getting it more because he's young and he's in this Chelsea hot seat at the moment.
And he's English, yeah.
And he's English, yeah. And I agree with that. But I do think one thing I thought, and I like him a lot, and I really hope he does well. The respect the ball thing in itself was crazy. But when he said the players themselves decided they wanted to do that, which I don't quite believe, by the way. But if they did, let's say if, that's where a manager goes, boys, let's not bring ourselves more stupid attention. If you want to have a little huddle, do it. You don't need to go over the ball and respect the ball. It's not going to change the game. It's not going to change the outcome. There's 29 more balls around the pitch. Can't do them all.
Yeah.
Boys, prepare properly, get your sleep in, train well. Yeah, if you want to do a huddle on the pitch, no problem. Loads of teams do it. Don't bring more focus on yourselves and more nonsense. Not, okay, boys, you do what you want then. That's a good idea. That's what a manager does.
I was feeling that, and it felt like they told him, if this is the case, that they said to him, well, we're having this huddle over the ball and the centre circle.
I just can't. I would love to know.
Because we want to respect this. If they've said to him, this is because we want to respect the ball, I think they're actually...
I hear all of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that this conversation is misdirection. Chelsea's failings are not down to Liam Rosenior. They're not.
No, I think
we can kid ourselves that they are and go to town on this, but they're not. You know, has he made mistakes as a young manager?
Yeah, cool.
Of course he has. Just like Arteta did, just like, Slot is, lots of managers make mistakes. They're allowed, and he will learn from them. But to hammer a promising young manager because his crime is being articulate, his crime is giving too much in press conferences. Goodness me, where are we going?
Yeah, there's been, I think it's fair to say there's been an overly analytical magnifying glass on him, which hasn't been justified. I mean, it's just ridiculous because he's a young English guy who wears glasses and looks cool. I mean, there's loads of foreign managers who come in and look cool, and we don't judge them the same because they're not English.
It's true. You're right. There's a bigger problem.
Bigger problem, absolutely.
We'd all agree with that. We're going to talk about Ben White next.
If you cast your mind back to the Antonio Conte days, you may remember one press conference in particular, which has gone down in Spurs history. Last week marked 3 years since this iconic rant. Let's have a listen again.
They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Yeah, it's easy in this way. And Tottenham story is this. 20 years that there is the owner and never won something. But why? Only for the fault is only for the club or for every manager that stay here. And I have seen the manager that Tottenham had on the bench. You risk to disrupt the figure of the manager and to protect the other situation in every moment. And now Until now, I tried to hide the situation, but now no, because I repeat, I don't want to see what I have seen today, because this is unacceptable. Also for the respect for the fans. They follow us, pay the tickets, and to see the team another time, to have this type of performance, for me, I repeat, this is unacceptable.
Wow.
Hey.
He lost the plot there, didn't
He
he? I didn't hear no press. They were loving it, weren't they, the press?
Go and hide.
Do you know that was after, Ali? I've been told that was after the 3-3 draw at Southampton. And if they'd won that game, they would have gone into third place.
Joking.
Third place.
It's kick-off. I'm Adrian Durham, Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis are with us. We need to talk about Thomas Tuchel's England squad. Harvey Barnes called up. He's decided not to be Scottish now. Eza pulled out. Jarell Quansah pulled out. Dominic Calvert-Lewin called up as well. We'll talk about all these if you want. There's a big story, and that is Ben White being called up to the England squad. And as far as I've heard, there's no news from Ben White that he doesn't want to play for England. Apparently that is now reversed, and he does want to play for England. I think one of the biggest parts of this story, and just ignoring Ben White's refusal to play for England for so long, and nobody really knew the reason why, certainly wasn't public, is Ben White has been called up. Trent Alexander-Arnold has not been called up. So on what football planet is Ben White a better option at right back than Trent Alexander-Arnold? Can either of you two explain that one to me, please?
Well, I think if you like your fullbacks to be really good defensively, then I understand it. I'd say defensively, Ben White's better than Trent. Trent's obviously better going forward. So, yeah, it depends what you want from your fullback and what other players you have in your squad who can play that role. So I think Reece James is injured, isn't he?
Yeah.
But obviously Reece is good, probably the best at both. Livramento, flying machine, he can do a bit of both.
Darren Lewis is about to explode here.
No, you asked me a singular question on the football.
I know, but he's about to explode.
No.
I don't know what he's going to say, by the way. I've got no idea.
All I was going to say was that if you're asking me a different question about the thought process around bringing a player in who once fell out with another manager and said, I don't want to play anymore, well, let's say that was Gerrard or Scholes or Lampard, you'd say, come on and come back, wouldn't you? Because we need you, Rooney. It's only because he's...
No, not necessarily. I think once you've decided to turn your back on your country, I think there's a few of us...
Oh, but come on.
Well, yeah, I'd like to know why, but he hasn't bothered to make that public.
Oh,
that's true.
And we might agree with
you, of all people, you're very forward-thinking. So I'm going to take you... Yes, yeah. You. This is not the army. It's football.
Yeah.
You know, he decided that he'd fallen out with a member of the previous regime. That person isn't there anymore. Suddenly there's no issue. I don't see what the problem is.
Well, I mean, there's lots of problems in that he can't even get in the Arsenal team.
That's fair enough, but there's lots of examples of players who can't get into teams who do.
Chris Timber's out injured, that's all.
Well, there you go. He's in it then, isn't he?
So he's got
well, he's not, though, is he? He's not regularly. He's not first choice.
Well, nor is Madueke.
And here's my other... Hold on one sec. Here's my thing with that. He hasn't been first choice for a little while.
No, he hasn't. You're right.
And he's decided just to hang around. Now, it doesn't...
So would you, 120 grand a week?
Well, exactly. That's my point. Why don't you want to play football? Oh, even if it meant you take a small pay cut or even get the same pay somewhere else, go there and play it.
You're mixing up principles and... You know,
what am I mixing up? There's nothing I'm mixing up here.
As far as Tuchel's concerned, and I'm going to answer both your points here. As far as Tuchel's concerned, he's got to pick the right profile for each position that suits him. He's got no necessarily loyalties or anything like that.
So if he wants a defensively minded right back, that's up to him.
That's up to him.
I get that.
But I would Trent. Just on Trent.
One really important thing, just then do Trent. The one thing we're missing here as well is maybe in his head, he's thinking he's played behind Saka a long time before he got out of the team. And they had a good relationship. So you might just be thinking, well, Saka's my main man on the right. Might be worth me having a look at Ben White, because if Reece James is injured, whether he plays Livramento, whether he plays Conte, whatever he does, even if he's not his first choice, you might think, better me taking someone who I know knows Saka, and those two have got a good relationship. Maybe.
Okay, but on current form, I'd question whether Saka is.
That would be fair as well.
That's different, but I mean, you can't possibly. Listen, there's 3 points I want to make. Honestly, every time you speak, I think of another point. So here's the first one, right? Just to start at the end. I remember Alan Shearer being out of form.
A good place to start.
Before. I remember Alan Shearer, a world-class Alan Shearer, being out of form ahead going into a major tournament.
Euro 96.
Euro 96.
He hadn't scored for 18 months or something.
Would we even countenance dropping him or criticising him? No, because we know what his quality was. And that's the same with Saka. He has been outstanding. He's going through a low point. There's no doubt or question over his position. That's the first thing.
I think there is.
The second thing, come on.
I mean, I love Bukayo Saka, but on current form, do you not think there's even a debate?
I don't think there would be for Tuchel.
Wow.
I don't think there would be for Tuchel.
Blimey. I'm really desperate.
I think Tuchel would want him to have a... All right, so who would play in his position? Who is outstanding in that position right now?
No, that's not who's outstanding. It's who's...
No, but you're going to a major tour. You're going to a
Who's playing
World
better
Cup.
than Saka in that position?
All right, go on then. Who's playing?
I'd play Saka, by the way.
I'd play Saka as well.
All right, let's move on. Right, so then there's the other thing, right? Which is the Ben White thing.
Yeah.
And when you were speaking, I was thinking of the managers who have come in and listen, Tuchel knows English football. He's won the Champions League with Chelsea. But I like the sort of out-of-the-box thinking. And I remember Sven came in and one of the first things he did was pick Wayne Bridge. And everyone went, where did that come from? You know, but Wayne Bridge went on to be a terrific player for England, terrific player for Chelsea. I remember other managers who took over I remember the Chelsea manager, what was his, the Italian Chelsea manager, very combustible, Conte. Won the league with Victor Moses at right back.
Right wing back.
Right wing back. You know, because it is possible as a football manager to think outside the box and see things in players that the rest of us don't see. You reference the amount of money England managers get paid. Well, that's why they get paid that money, to see what we can't see.
But he wasn't in the original squad, so there's no magic going on.
No, there is no. I agree with this, but we're conflating two issues, aren't we? Because I think I heard Stuart Pearce talking about it well, and justifiably. So there's a footballing issue and a conversation.
Is he good enough? Yeah, that's. And you're allowed to have different.
But isn't that a separate issue than the one you've got? Well, let's hear that.
My issue with Ben White being in is that out of nowhere he suddenly decided to leave an England camp and not play for his country again. Now, this is nothing to do with me being a little Englander or anything like that.
No, you're not. This is my point. You're very forward thinking.
Correct. And if you decide, right, I don't want to play for England. Now, what we need to know, and Gareth Southgate hasn't told us, Steve Holland hasn't told us, and Ben White hasn't told us. We're England fans, by the way. We pay a lot of money, and I have paid a lot of money to watch England at home and abroad before I took on the role of the England anchor for talkSPORT.
England what?
A job I'm very proud to have. You can interpret it how you want, and you may be right. But I need to know why that happened, because it could be justifiable. I don't understand why there's this big cloak of secrecy.
I agree.
What it leads to is a lot of speculation. Now, I'm going to give you what the speculation is, and I don't really care if people don't like me saying it. I genuinely don't care. This is what I'm led to understand has happened with Ben White. The players were told to watch videos of opponents, okay? And they were given videos on their laptops, iPads, whatever it was. He decided not to. And the England analysts knew, because they had the tech, who had and who hadn't watched the videos. And when asked about it, Ben White got really upset about it to the point where he quit England. Now, if that is true, Why on earth would Thomas Tuchel want him back in the squad when he's not prepared to put the hard yards in to be as good as he possibly can against the opponents England are up against?
Well,
if it's not true, I apologise, but let's have the flipping truth.
Well, okay.
What's wrong with you guys?
No, I agree. The truth would be nice and be able to judge it with more clarity. But let me give you that from a footballing perspective.
And can you bear in mind it's England?
There was 2 or 3
We're
other
trying to
right
win
backs
the World
who he was never playing, was he? He was a gesture in the squad to fill in case.
I don't like the start of this, but go on.
Well, I'm just telling you where his head
Hasn't he
was
got to
at.
do his very best to be the best right back?
Yeah, but watching that video and going to get him in the team, because there was 3 other options before.
Not watching him. Not watching the video is not going to help him, though, is it?
No, but it's being antagonistic and being frustrated in the wrong way. So instead of going up and going, why are you giving me this? You know I'm not going to play. Wasting my time. Go and have a chat with the coach or the manager and just have it out. So you really want to watch it? All right, bang, I'll watch it. There you go, have it back. You know, not everyone's got the capability of verbalising their frustration and anger. And I've seen it loads of times with players. And I've been petulant at times where you just you just think, you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to go. I know they're going to say I'm not going to watch it. And the reason I'm not going to watch it is because I'm not going to play. There you go, have it back. I used to do it. We used to get told my first year at Fulham, I'd played a load of games. I know how my body worked. And we used to supposed to, instead of coming in on a Sunday after a Saturday game, he wanted you to go for a run in the woods with your dog or whatever, wear a heart rate monitor and do 25-minute jog warm down with over a heartbeat rate of X. And I just used to go in the morning and give it him on a Monday. Say I'm in my 30s. I don't want to be going 25-minute run on a Sunday, thanks. And look, it was me just being a bit of an idiot. Should have just done it or put it on the dog or something and just pretended.
Put it on the dog.
Well, I did, actually. I did do that one.
way.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Well, they knew, didn't they? Because dogs' heart rates go like...
Yeah, the clappers.
Yeah.
So you got found out.
Well, he said you need to go to the hospital. Yeah. But what I'm saying is you do these stupid things because you don't like what someone's telling you, because football's gone mad, you know. It's like, I kind of... Do you know what? He shouldn't have left. But I kind of don't mind him saying...
But on England duty.
I'm not watching that.
On England duty, do you not do everything professionally within your capabilities? Everything you're asked?
But he might have done...
On any duty. If you're broadcasting for talkSPORT or you're working for Radio Peterborough, you've got the same standard of professionalism, haven't you?
Well, yeah.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? I think it's also... And I know this... It sounds like I'm defending him and footballers. I'm not. But it's the reality, 'cause I've been one and I've been stupid many times. You are talking about young men, not at their peak mature levels, who are all in a bubble, well paid, famous, think you're special. I've been that guy. You know, you walk on a bit of a... You think you're special. It's like, it's all about me. And he shouldn't be playing ahead of me. And I know that if he's injured, he's going to play instead of me. And actually... Do you know what? I don't care if they send me out. I don't care. I'm not even watching it. Go away. And what happens is a lot of the staffs are so big now at these football clubs. England, the staff must be ridiculous. You've got some geeky 24-year-old coming up to you with some DVD or some, I don't know.
DVD?
Well, not a DVD. It used to be a DVD in my day. He's going to send you a JPEG or whatever it is. Is it a JPEG? He's going to send you...
Stop digging.
He's going to see... Is it a JPEG? He's going to send you a download. He's going to send you a download.
On the interweb.
On your... Yeah. Dial it up. And you think... He's only just out of wet wipes, this fella. And he's telling me to watch a left winger who I'm not going to play against.
But on a serious note, do you feel it's not helped... Because I noticed you've got players who are surrounded by people who never say no to them. And we're criticising Ben White, but it's the culture as well.
Did Scholesy get criticised when he said, I'm not playing on the left, I'm done?
There were some of us who did, yeah. And we got criticised for criticising him.
But then a lot of people would say, fair play, Scholesy, you're right, you should never play on the left.
I think the bigger issue there was Sven not being able to sort out a decent midfield.
Yeah, so he went in.
Yeah,
What about, I mean, the best example, the best one ever is Carra.
Yeah, and did you hear me on that?
Yeah, but how good was his response? I've been in 80, I won't say he's been in 80 squads, and all these centre-halves keep coming in, and he's brilliant. Yeah, he might be better than me, but he's done this, and he still never plays. So, enough.
And then he came back.
Yeah. Yes, but he was allowed to come back because someone decided, okay, you've evolved.
And then he came back and went to the 2010 World Cup where England were horrific. But what I will say is, for every minute Jamie Carragher was on the pitch at that World Cup and he did play, England didn't concede a goal.
And there you go.
Can I just wrap this up by saying I think it would be insane not to take Trent to the World Cup.
But I'm going to come back to you on that very shortly. Danny, I appreciate your honesty on that. I'm still not having Ben White in the England World Cup squad potentially, unless he scores the winner in the final. In which case, all
is
forgiven. Absolutely. Let's kick off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
One of the big talking points was, have you heard about the result from the Northeast? Sunderland go to St James's Park and won, and they did. Sunderland completed the domestic double over their rivals thanks to a late 2-1 win at Newcastle, and it sees Sunderland leapfrog Newcastle in the league, 1 point clear in 11th. It's hard to imagine it, Martin, but in their debut Premier League return, are they now firmly out of Newcastle's shadow?
Well, I mean, okay, Eddie was saying about the number of games that they've had to play and the calibre of player they're up against. The squad maybe is not equipped well enough, perhaps, to with all the resources they've got financially. They haven't been able to capitalise on that, have they, because of the financial fair play? So, but in the meantime, Sunderland have caught up with them. I mean, Jacques is a really important player, by the way. When he was out for a while, Sunderland suddenly started looking like a championship team.
Yeah.
But now that he's back in the team, Brobby up top. Too much to handle. Couldn't deal with him, Jim. And it's all these games, successive games. But it was a big game in the minds of these Newcastle players. They put it there as a one that they could go and win it. And it's tricky now for Eddie between now and the end of the season, Jim, to try and fix this problem.
Well, it is. Simon, a difficult week for him.
Yeah.
7-2 capitulation in Barcelona. Yeah. Then they lose at home to their closest of rivals. What is the more chastening result for Eddie?
I think probably the Sunderland result, because it follows on the back of a necessity to bounce back. You've got to live in this city, and the rivalry between these two football clubs is significant. You've already been beaten by them once.
It's heavyweight season on DAZN this weekend. The future heavyweight champion of the world, Moses Itauma, takes on Jermaine Franklin. April the 4th. After that, an icon will fall as Derek War Chisora collides with the bronze bomber Deontay Wilder in both fighters' 50th fight. What a meet-up that is. May the 5th, Fabio Wardley, who's an Ipswich fan, makes his first defence of his WBO heavyweight title against former IBF champion Daniel Dubois in Manchester. 3 huge nights, 1 destination. Sign up to DAZN Ultimate now. Get access to every punch, every knockout, every moment.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
So, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Darren Lewis, you were saying it's a crime if he doesn't go to the World Cup?
Absolute crime if he doesn't
Why?
go to the World Cup. Well, this is one of the best, most decorated right-backs that we have in this country. And I think the fact that we think about what he does going towards goal rather than going forward is an indictment on our football mentality. We're always thinking about the back door. But
he is part of a back four.
He is, but if you think about what he's won with Liverpool, he's been able to combine his defensive duties with going on to provide up front with his delivery, with his versatility. And I think what I want from my right back, and if you think about some of the most celebrated right backs in football history, Roberto Carlos, had to go to the left back, Cafu, for example. They were explosive going forward. And I think as far as Trent Alexander-Arnold's concerned, I look at this 35-man squad, and the only thing I can think of is that Tuchel is of the opinion he doesn't need to know more about him. Because if this 35-man squad is the blueprint for from which he will choose his eventual squad, then I think we'd be making a huge, huge mistake. How does this guy manage to hold down a place for one of the best, most celebrated teams in the world in Real Madrid, and yet our England team, that's never won anything, can't find a place for him?
It's true. Okay, first half of Real Madrid against City, the first leg I'm talking about, Real Madrid won 3-0. Doku did give him quite a game. I mean, he actually, and I don't think Doku's been particularly brilliant for City, but he actually tormented him to a certain extent. And there were Real Madrid players around him. So defensively, it depends doesn't it depend what Thomas Tuchel's idea is? If he's got an idea, I'm going to win the World Cup this way, and I need a solid back four, a defensive-minded back four, doesn't that mean it's a waste of time taking Trent?
Yes and no. I'm more on the side of no, in that if you're going to take a squad of players, you take one right back that you can rely on, one right back that is more defensively minded, and you take another that allows you to play in a different way. Surely that makes sense. It's not even that complicated.
I can see that, yeah.
If you're playing a side that you want to be on the front foot against, then surely Trent Alexander-Arnold is a shoo-in for a role in that back four. So I don't even see it to be that complicated. I actually think that something would be seriously amiss if Trent were not in that final squad.
You know, I actually do agree with you, and I think when you see Ben White called up ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold, I absolutely do not understand it at all. I think that Thomas Tuchel hasn't read the room.
Yeah.
In terms of England fans and how they feel about Ben White, I don't think he's read the room in terms of how we feel about Trent to a certain extent as well. It does baffle me that he is one of the most talented footballers. I actually do place a bit of the blame on the Liverpool Academy. It's going to sound a bit weird, but they kind of turned him into a right back, and I'm not sure that was his best position going forward. If you keep him in, and he wasn't a right back originally, if you keep him in centre mid, do you know what? This is a debate for another show. We've literally run out of time, but I mean, it's a massive debate, and Danny Murphy would obviously have a lot to say about it as well. But Darren Lewis, thank you very much. Danny Murphy, thank you very much. England, Uruguay on Friday live on talkSPORT, and then next Tuesday, England, Japan live on talkSPORT. The Sports Bar, unmissable, coming next. Jamie O'Hara, Jason Cundy, you can join in 03717 22 3344. It's the world's most vocal Arsenal fan, Piers Morgan. Good morning, Piers, or is it a good morning, my friend? Good morning, Piers.
Can I just say that when your brilliant team, well, good morning, first of all, Ali, and particularly, of course, to Ray and Emmanuel, two great heroes of mine. When I agreed to do this interview, obviously I did so in the overconfident expectation that I would be regaling your listeners, and indeed the three of you, with my joyous recounting of Arsenal's triumphant victory. So to say that when I woke up this morning and suddenly remembered what I had to do,